I, male 24, found out my girlfriend, 20 female, is homeless. Yesterday morning, I went out to go for a walk around the city and noticed a girl that looked familiar standing in line at a homeless shelter. I took a glance and saw a hoodie that was mine and then recognized my girlfriend, Kat. I was pretty shocked by seeing her there, but didn't approach her because I didn't want to embarrass her or anything. So for background info, I met Kat in February at a Dunkin's. I started making small talk with her when I saw that we were both wearing the same Dodgers hat. I offered to pay for her drink after shooting the shit for a minute in line and got to know her when she asked if I wanted to sit down with her. As we were finishing up our drink, I asked her out on a date and she accepted. As the last couple of months went by, things were going great with us. I learned that she was working 2 jobs, wanted to go to college, was a devout Catholic. She invited me to attend Mass. I'm not Catholic, but I went out of respect. Yet I noticed she never brought up her family, except when she mentioned her dad, who was a Marine that passed away when she was a kid. Fast forward to the present, and I ended up sending a good morning text inside the Dunkin's as I was looking to see if it was really her. Like clockwork, she pulled out her phone and told me that she was at her apartment and that she was cooking breakfast. It was really surprising for me because I've always dropped her off at a nice apartment building whenever a date was over, but I guess she did that to give off the appearance that she wasn't homeless. Now I want to talk to Kat about her situation. She's kind of a social introvert, to put it lightly. If she truly is homeless, I want to offer Kat to stay at my place. The only problem is that I don't want it to come off like she owes me or anything like that. I also want to respect her Catholic faith because she told me that she wants to wait to give up her virginity after I originally invited her over to my place before I knew that she was homeless. The Catholics aren't fond of unmarried cohabitation either. Thoughts on how I can navigate this? Edit, I forgot to mention that Kat has an older sedan. I know that I'm making a lot of assumptions, but I'm guessing that she lives inside of her car because she doesn't carry a backpack around her all the time and she wears a nice dress and flats when she goes to Mass. The other clothing she wears is sort of just casual. Think your typical Converse, skinny jeans, and overcoat. Nothing too fancy, nor too dingy. In the comments, Puzzle-Headed Hurry says, I feel like a lot of these comments and suggestions are missing step 1. Talk to Kat. If you want to continue having a relationship with her, you have to be able to have open and honest conversations, even about hard things. Don't make it accusatory. Just be very straightforward, but also open and sympathetic. When I was at Dunkin's the other day, I saw you in the food line across the street. Is everything okay? I'm worried, and I want to know if or how I can help. All of this should be underscored with the message that you care about her wholeheartedly. This is not coming from a place of pity. This is coming from a place of concern for someone that you care deeply about. Not the Goatsy guy says, it was really surprising for me because I always dropped her off at the nice apartment building whenever a date was over, but I guess she did that to give off the appearance that she wasn't homeless. People who are homeless often aren't homeless all the time. They may have temporary housing of some sorts with family or friends, but other nights may be out in their cars, streets, or shelters. Also not uncommon to go to shelters just to get a meal. The homeless shelter in my city does lunch every day, and anyone can go and get lunch, no questions asked. Doesn't matter if you're sleeping on the street or in the nearby apartments. Quote, the Catholics aren't fond of unmarried cohabitation either, end quote. Lol, us Catholics can be very flexible on our ideology, especially when it comes to how it governs us. Anyway, I think you just need to talk to Kat, mention you saw her, and that you would like to help. I wouldn't offer any specific kind of help. Let her tell you what she needs. One day she may need money, another clothing, and another just some gas in the car to make it to a family or friend's place. And then the ball is in your court if you want to offer that type of help, support, or not. Paticus Gnome says, I used to be homeless 5 years and dated 2 women in that time that let me live in their home. The power dynamic was not the issue. If the relationship has good communication and you are both aware of it, it doesn't have to be a problem. The real problem came when the relationship started nearing its natural end. Suddenly, I wasn't just losing a girlfriend, I was losing a home, a bathroom, a kitchen, a bed, and a partner. It made me work extra hard to save the relationship when I would have otherwise just let it go a long time ago. That made for months of unnecessary suffering for both of us. It created a codependent dynamic and made the final breakup way harder than it needed to be. Now that I have my own place, I don't have those issues. Something to consider. And now, onto the update. So for starters, I wanted to thank the people on the sub for hitting me up with some good advice on both sides, but I want to especially thank Puzzle-Headed Hurry, Not the Goats Guy, and Paticus Gnome. I ended up meeting Kat at the local park that we usually walk through after she got off work earlier today, since it's out in the open, yet still private enough to have a serious conversation. I told Kat that I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable or ashamed, but that I saw her at the line at a homeless shelter yesterday, and I wanted to talk to her if there was anything up or if she needed help. Kat immediately began to cry and showed her nervous tics, fidgeting around, wrinkling her nose, etc. She began stuttering on her words, and I consoled her until she began to gather herself again. I told Kat that she didn't have to feel like she had to hide anything from me, and she began to open up about everything. Kat told me that she had been homeless for over a year. She grew up in a broken home after her dad passed away in Iraq when she was a kid back in 2006. Her mother fell into alcoholism and pretty much had blown whatever savings she had from the death gratuity she received and basically lived paycheck to paycheck. Despite this, her faith with the church was the only real thing that gave her stability and hope to carry on with her daily life. At 18, she joined the Marines because she wanted to honor her father and escape the life she had grown up with. Although, she ended up getting LSED, entry-level separation, and was chaptered out of the USMC due to her developing asthma while in basic. She ended up moving to our current city on the East Coast because she didn't want to return to California where her mother was. Kat ended up barely scraping by to where she saved up to buy her older car to sleep in away from the shelters around December of last year. Kat ended up sharing to me that she was on the verge of suicide around the time that I met her and wanted to play up like she didn't have baggage, and elaborated on how she didn't want to scare me off by admitting to me that she was homeless. So she had me drop her off at the one apartment building and split the tab of our dates to appear like everything was normal. Truthfully, I felt gutted hearing her story. I had feelings that things probably were bad for her, but I didn't think it was that bad. Kat showed me her DD-214. I'm currently an E5 in the Army Reserves, so I knew her story was verifiable, as well as the pictures she had of her past. I told her that I wanted to help her out in any way, and that I was open to having her move to my place with the added kicker that we could go to IKEA to get her a bed set to make my living room into her living space, since I wanted to respect her physical boundaries that was in place from her Catholic faith. Kat was very hesitant because of her pride, and she didn't want to come off like she was accepting a handout due to pity, but I reassured her that it wasn't with a handout or came with a catch. I told Kat that I loved her, which was the first time that I said that, and wanted to help her feel secure. She looked at me with a sort of disbelief and asked me if I really meant it, and I did. Kat reciprocated by saying that she loved me and accepted. As far as the conditions go, I told her to meet me at 30% of the rent and to put whatever money she had into starting summer classes at the local community college, and that she could stay with me for as long as she wanted if she felt comfortable with premarital cohabitation. A last thanks for the advice on everything. Our convo was a long one and took a lot emotionally from Kat, so she is currently crashing at my couch until she wakes up so we can get her bed at IKEA later tonight. Once again, thank you for giving advice, as it really allowed me to vent on what was going on. In the comments, Ridiculous George says, "Relationship seems really healthy, and Opie handled the situation really well, but man, this feels like a perfect storm to build codependence issues, both financial and emotional. I hope Kat is able to get back on her feet with the community college classes and keep a good relationship with OP, regardless of how their romantic situation goes." Well, one maybe good thing. If she's under the age of 22 and she enrolls in community college, she will get a monthly stipend as the dependent of a deceased active military member. That and a job should give her enough to survive. But how would she be able to avail the stipend? It sounds like something that would help her out a lot. Talk to the financial aid office at the school. All I needed was my father's military ID number. That could be dicey considering she's apparently no contact with her mother. Marines could maybe help, but she'd have to prove that she's his daughter. Hopefully she took any documents she needed when she left. In my state, she could go to a city hall of the city where she was born and ask for a duplicate of her birth certificate. She will get it in 5 minutes and it costs like $10. I wonder if it's possible to request it by mail or online. Also, it may be a long shot, but I'm guessing that since her dad died in Iraq, he died in service. And if mum didn't use his GI Bill, maybe girlfriend still has the option to. I know a parent can transfer it to their kid, but I don't know how it works if they died before filling out that transfer paperwork. Seeing as how OP is in the reserves, hopefully they'd get the idea to check, and hopefully girlfriend can use it. Free college and housing allowance is sweet, especially in this economy. Acceptable Box says, homelessness is one of the most destabilizing and dehumanizing things that a person can go through. No matter how hard my days have gotten, I'm grateful that I've always had a safe and secure place to call my own, a place to recoup for a better day. I'm so glad OP approached this conversation with sensitivity, love, and dignity. They are lucky to have each other, and I wish them the very best. And I too hope OP the best. Also, I include those comments about the military and resources because I do hope that it can help you guys one day. To most of us, it may be easily accessible and common knowledge, but I'm guessing that there are some people that come in and out of these stories that are like, I have no clue. Thank you for pointing me in the right direction, and I'd love to help however I can. I do hope that a codependent system doesn't crop up between those two that ends badly, but I guess we'll see if there are any future updates. It sounds like it's going pretty well for now. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this one? I'd love to know down in the comments below. Our next post is by user Lipstick Rib Steak, titled, Am I the asshole for wanting my wife to stay up during a road trip and talk to me? I'm writing this right now at the hotel where I'm at because I'm genuinely at a loss for words. I don't think I'm in the wrong, but at the same time, she looks really pissed at me. My wife, me, and our 2-year-old are going on our first family road trip to California. We rotate driving in shifts, but the problem is that when I was driving, my shift fell during the night, and so I was feeling really lonely and bored as I was driving. I'm not someone who can be left to his own thoughts very well, and I need people around me. I thrive on energy and excitement. My wife is a bit of the opposite. She's generally fine with being left alone and can sit quietly for hours and hours upon end. The problem is that at around 11 p.m., I was driving and my wife and our son were in the back seat. I was feeling isolated, so I shook her awake, but then our son woke up and, well, you can probably guess what happens next. Once he quieted down, my wife began to quietly blow up at me about how much of a dick I was being. I told her that it wasn't fair for her to just sleep like that, and it made me feel like a driver. She then said that she doesn't force me to stay awake or engage with her, but I told her that that's a cheap blow because we're not the same people, and I kept my mouth shut while she was driving because I know she doesn't like distractions, even though it bothered me terribly. So the least she could do is to stop being selfish and help me keep sane. Despite my perfectly logical answer, she apparently got emotional and then started whisper screaming some shit about how raising one toddler is hard enough and that she didn't know that there was another one in the car who needed his whims catered to at every moment, and at that point, since she got rude, I decided to disengage. Now our whole trip is falling apart and she's making me out to be the bad guy. I don't get it, OP. I thought you needed people around you. I thought you of all people thrived on energy and excitement, and now you're getting the energy and excitement that you want, and now you're disengaging? What's the problem, man? She was giving you all the energy and excitement that you wanted. You literally asked for this, and you can't handle it. Why are you getting so emotional and upset, OP? What's the problem, man? Anyway, you're the asshole. You're definitely an asshole for this one. Screw you for starting fights and then not ending them properly. You are the bad guy. In the comments, Glad to Be Alive 2020 says, You're the asshole for several reasons. You said, I was driving. My shift fell during the night and so I was feeling really lonely and bored as I was driving. I'm not someone who can be left alone with his thoughts very well, and I need people around me. I thrive on energy and excitement. I was feeling isolated. I shook her awake. Then our son woke up and, well, you can probably guess what happens next once he quieted down. Hate to break this to you, but your wife isn't just an accessory to your life. She is a living, breathing being with her own needs and wants. You talk a lot about what you need. What about what your wife needs? You basically are so self-centered that you want your wife to stay awake while she drives and during your driving shift and take care of the baby while you are driving. You were also so selfish and self-centered that you didn't care that waking up your wife would disturb and awaken your son. You probably were happy the baby woke up, since it brought some excitement and energy into the moment. You said, despite my perfectly logical answer, blah 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 blah. So then when she calls you out on your utter BS, then you pull the women are reacting emotionally, as opposed to your BS. Your wife is correct in her assessment of your toddlerhood. If you don't change and step down off your high horse and start treating your wife and child with respect, and not always putting yourself first, your next drive probably would be to a divorce attorney. Ugh, any guy who will describe himself as logical and his wife as emotional in the same sentence is automatically an asshole. It's pretty logical that she would want to sleep after a full day of driving. It's pretty logical she wouldn't want you to wake up a screaming baby. And he was being very emotional in waking her up just so that she could make him feel less lonely and bored. Generally, dudes who go right to the logical and emotional defense think they are smarter than their wives, and they are clearly always right because they are guided by clear masculine logic and their wives by hysterical feminine emotion, when in fact they are way more motivated by emotion themselves and usually selfishness that they just refuse to see. Exactly, he was projecting his shortcomings onto her. Plus, loneliness and boredom are emotions and feelings, not logic, not reason. He is double, triple, quadruple, you're the asshole. Tuden Snooty says, you're the asshole. How can your wife safely drive during her shift if she's tired from staying up and talking to you? Podcast, music, phone a friend, something. Your wife probably carries most of the mental load when it comes to caring for your toddler. The least you could do is let her sleep. Posted by user Electronic Gas 5769, titled, Am I the asshole for uninviting my daughter to our Christmas gathering? So I'm a mother of 4 children, 2 older sons and 2 younger daughters. All of them are adults and have moved out a long time ago. I have always been close with my daughter S, while P has always liked to have her own space, which I don't mind. They are both beautiful, young, talented women that I thought I couldn't be more proud of. We're having early Christmas this year. First week of December, I was inviting everyone around for Christmas dinner, gift giving and the lot. When I phoned P yesterday to clarify a few things, she mentioned that she and her husband would not be coming. When I asked why, she said they had separated for now as he had cheated. I said that it was surely better to spend time with family if this was the case, and maybe she should come home for some time. She ummed and ahed, but then eventually she told me he had an affair with Stinkbug, and they had been seeing each other for the past 2 years. I felt sick. For the past 6 months in our talks, S had alluded that she had been seeing someone and was typically girl in love. I uninvited S to the Christmas gathering and blocked her. I don't know if I'm able to deal with her before Christmas, but this is family time, and family can't hurt each other like that. I'm at a loss in all honesty. P is now coming, which is good, because at this time she needs stability of people who love her in my opinion. The problem is that S naturally thinks I'm in the wrong. It's none of my business, and as her mother, I can't block her and remove her from the family. My sister thinks that I shouldn't get involved in their personal lives, which I think is BS. My daughter needs us right now. But then she tells me I have 2 daughters to think about, which I think isn't true. S has forfeited that right at the moment. Thankfully, my husband is liaising with S at the moment, but he is also in solidarity with me. So are we in the wrong for uninviting a daughter for Christmas? Edit, my husband showed me that this had gotten a lot of responses. Too many for us to answer them all, but we will be reading through them before bed. A small update, P's mother-in-law found out. While her and I have only spoken a few times, she did dote on P, and I know P got along well with her. I haven't spoken to her personally, but I know she phoned my daughter and was really supportive and crying. My sister said that if S isn't invited, then she isn't going either, which is fine by me. She wasn't invited in the first place due to the pandemic. Otherwise, I've been working and doing some crochet, so it's been quiet. In my opinion, I think that obviously S is at fault. You uninviting her isn't an asshole move. There's going to be ramifications for these decisions within the family. People deciding to join the dinner or not does not make you an asshole. That is their decision. Ultimately, you're hosting, and your decision to cut her out of this family time isn't warranting an asshole response in my opinion. I think you are doing what's best for everyone there at the party in order to limit fights. And also, I think you're taking the right person's side in this one, so I say, not the asshole. In the comments, Cheerily Terrified says, not the asshole. No, sleeping with her sister's husband is a really good reason to uninvite your daughter. This is a case where one has massively wronged the other, that staying neutral or not taking sides is taking a side. I've seen a few of these that go the other way and want the betrayed sister to suck it up and put their hurt and feelings aside for the sake of the family, so good for you for not pulling that bullshit. The names made this a bit hard to follow though. Right? She went from S to Stinkbug and I was like, who? The affair has been going on for 2 years. 2 frickin' years, and Stinkbug, who was appropriately named, couldn't just be upfront and tell her sister? Not the asshole. Glad you're sticking up for your kid, cause the other one is a write-off. Imagine she has been telling her mother about her relationship for 2 years, knowing all the time she was cheating on her sister, and now she thinks there shouldn't be any consequences. Yeah, she's a bad one alright. Hoagie Mama says, not the asshole. Uninviting your daughter to one family event to support your other daughter who she violated is not wrong. You don't say that you're disowning Stinkbutt, just that Poopface is currently your priority. If Stinkbutt has even a shred of reason, this will make sense to her. She knows what she did is wrong. And Are We There Yet 24 says, not the asshole. Your daughter has made a horrible choice and will have to live with the consequences. If you invite her and act like nothing is wrong, your daughter who is getting divorced will feel terrible and will not want to come. She is the one who needs emotional support right now. In the future, you can think about how to continue having a relationship with your other daughter, but at a minimum, not being invited to a family events where she will make her sister uncomfortable seems like a solid natural consequence to her actions. And now, onto the update. Hello all. My Christmas gathering was yesterday, and my son and husband wondered if I would post an update for you all. It has been rather uneventful, but I've been equally surrounded by warmth and love, while also feeling heartbroken and lonely. So first of all, since my post, my husband has been teaching me to use Reddit. I've really enjoyed being in some craft communities. My daughter Penny has been staying with us. She works from home. My husband and eldest went to get some more of her stuff from her old house. Penny's mother-in-law Jane was there and was very helpful and sweet. She also bought some mint hot chocolate for our Penny and some Christmas candles. I know they are her favorite. From what Penny has told me, Jane is having similar feelings to me, a lot of guilt over our children's decision to hurt people that we love. I think at this point we have to accept that we did our best raising them, but they're adults now, so we can't beat ourselves up. Penny and Jane are going to stay in touch. I think Jane truly does think of Penny as a daughter/friend. On to some more negative things. I wrote my letter to Sally during this time. I expressed that I was extremely disappointed and also disgusted. While I will continue to have a relationship with her, she won't be welcome to any family gatherings with Penny present unless Penny has met a point in her life where she feels comfortable. I told her what some of you had said, that not taking a side would be a side, and that she had for all intents and purposes already uninvited herself when she was so cruel to her sister. Sally had apparently come up on Friday and knocked on the door. I was out shopping at the time. My husband spoke to her. Apparently, Sally and Michael, my son-in-law, are going to continue their relationship. I will not support it in any way or form. She may be my daughter, but that man is not welcome. I am supporting Penny through the divorce, and if Sally ever expects money for the wedding or a house, then she's a very naive girl. My husband sent her away, after which Sally said that we would have to get over it someday. Otherwise, the Christmas gathering was lovely. It was strange not getting drunk and playing board games due to COVID, but still a pleasant time. My hip hurts from the cooking, but husband and Penny did the cleaning up, so who's the real winner? I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for your kind words when I last spoke to you. In the comments, Hollystar241 says, I wasn't able to judge your other post, as it's locked, but I'm glad your Christmas gathering went well, OP. And just to say, you were not the asshole for uninviting Sally, S, and I hope P can move on from this, and perhaps find a better man who won't cheat on her and treat her like a queen. Saber Eyes says, you handled everything perfectly. We see many posts on here where the parents take the opposite approach. Welcome the sister and the cheater to everything and tell the one that was wronged just to get over it. I mean, what the hell is up with that? Your get-together sounds like it was fun. It's cool that they did the cleanup. Never thought that it was fair that the women in my family spent the first half of the day cooking and still had to do the cleanup afterwards while the men watched TV. OP replies, "It was still a very hard decision to make. My heart breaks at a situation I can't fix. My husband will always do the dishes after, as he insists I don't load the dishwasher correctly. Maybe I should do more of the cleaning incorrectly. You're a great mother, but prepare yourself for Sally getting pregnant rather quickly to force your hands into acknowledging her shitty behavior, and then wind up crying on your doorstep, baby in tow, when he cheats on her too. Holy cow, Sally is horrible. If my sister did that, I would disown her completely and forever. If one of my sons did that to the other, I would have to do as you did, and the cheating partner would never be welcome in my home." 12WE000 says, "Fully agree. I think it's disgusting that Sally hurt her sister and her family the way she has, thinking they will come around later. She is acting extremely selfish and ruthless, believing that the ends justify the means. She doesn't seem to understand that this will be a permanent rift, and she can't undo the damage that she has done. She's probably banking on a wedding legitimizing her relationship with brother-in-law, and when that doesn't work, she'll think a baby will absolve her, as in her mind, wanting access to their grandchild will be her ace card to play. If she goes that route, it's almost certainly the kid will grow up with divorced parents, as either Sally or Michael will cheat at some point." And now, onto the final update. Hello all, I hope this message finds you well. A lot has changed since I last spoke with you all, so I would like to update you because I'm finding things a bit difficult right now. First of all, Penny is doing well. She met someone new about a year ago. They're incredibly supportive and sweet, and they made such an effort in getting to know me and my husband. Penny was still living with me when she started seeing them, so I got to watch their relationship develop. And although Penny is a grown woman, I couldn't help but be reminded of when she was a child and having crushes. It was very endearing, and I'm glad I got to witness firsthand the smile that her new partner gives her. Penny also got a new job and has moved to Ireland with her partner. Sally and Michael have continued their relationship. I don't have a lot of love to give Michael. I'm civil enough, but frankly, it is difficult for me to become invested in their relationship at all. Michael recently asked my permission to marry Sally, which was disrespectful to say the least. Penny still lived with me last Christmas, so again, they were not invited. I am not hosting this Christmas, and am instead going to go visit my eldest son. He and his wife had a little boy at the beginning of this year. They've asked me to stay with them for a little while so I can help with the cooking and cleaning, as they have been struggling a little bit. Finally, my husband passed away 9 months ago. He fell while on a walk and hit his head, and was there for some hours before someone found him. It's been a difficult transition, to put it mildly. Being a little bit on the older side, I've lost a fair few people in my life, and while I did grieve, I always had the strength to continue. Losing my husband made me realize how much I relied on him. Not just to take the bins out or pick me up from choir practice, but all the times I was angry, sad, and overwhelmed, he was there for me. When other people passed away, at least you get moments of respite in the grief where you just sort of forget they've passed. With my husband, there are only reminders. Every time I wake up alone, when I now have to take the bins out, when I now have to cook a meal just for one person. There's not really a moment of peace in this grief, and I have found it very difficult to deal with. It's his birthday at the end of November, and there was another moment of grief as I had to get rid of my notes for birthday gift ideas in my notebook. Everything has just been so painful to deal with, and I just cannot stop crying even after all of this time. I just can't even stand to think of the good moments that I shared with him because it just hurts too much. I know there's not a correct way to grieve or time limit, but I just feel like I've got to get up and start looking after myself for everyone around me. I really want to thank any of you that read this. It's been incredibly helpful just to be able to share my feelings a little bit. I hope you all have been doing well. Kind regards. In the comments, Celtic Sky says, "My sincere and deepest condolences for your loss. While the reminders bring sadness and tears today, one day they will bring smiles and laughter. I think going to stay with your son and grandchild will definitely help you through the grieving process. I am so glad to hear that Penny has found love again as well. Yours is a story I wonder about every now and then, simply because you and your husband did what was right. Unfortunately, Sally will likely come to you one day, just as Penny did, because if he'll cheat with you, he will cheat on you. Again, I am so very sorry for your loss. I believe your husband is still with you, watching over you and your family. Survival Nut says, the more time I spend on Reddit, the happier I am that my family is boring and drama-free. Yeah, every time I have some mild drama, I think something like, I'm glad that was too boring to put on Reddit. My family is pretty drama-free. My sisters and I all share Reddit, TikTok, and Facebook drama to have drama in our lives. Damn, was just expecting some run-of-the-mill family cheating drama, and then the last post hits like a gut punch. Life gets heavy sometimes. For the love of all sanity, people have got to stop porking their siblings' exes, partners, and spouses. 8 billion people on the effing planet, and it astonishes me when people can't look beyond the Christmas dining table for someone to screw. I feel horrible for OP. I actually wonder how the funeral went with all that chaos that Sally and Mike brought to their lives. I didn't even think about the funeral. I hope there wasn't too much drama. I can't imagine OP not letting Sally say her final goodbyes. Hopefully Michael had enough tact not to attend, or if they did both go, they stayed far away from Penny. Michael was stupid enough to ask OP for her daughter's hand in marriage, knowing he had already asked and broken that vow with OP's other daughter. He wouldn't recognize tact if it sat on his face. Honestly, I've got to agree with Brown Sugar Bear there. That is very tactless. I am very much sorry to hear about the passing of OP's husband. I hope that she is dealing well with this and that things continue to look up in the future. Anyway, that's enough from me. What do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next post is by user Haunted by Hoodies, titled, Today I screwed up by being willing to do anything to make my girlfriend orgasm. Last night, my girlfriend asked me to stop going down on her because she was not going to climax and it was getting late. I said I was willing to keep going, but she said we both knew she never got off with anyone and nothing was going to change that. I asked if she wanted to use one of her toys. She said she wasn't in the mood for toys. I said there must be something I could do to get the job done. She said it is what it is and encouraged me to focus on the fact that she enjoyed getting me off. At that moment, she got dressed and prepared for bed. I was still naked and still struggling to accept the idea that my girlfriend was doomed to always depend on toys to get off. I have nothing against anyone using accessories in the bedroom, but I could tell that deep down, my girlfriend would really like it if she could climax through human contact. My girlfriend eventually got tired of hearing me go on and on about trying new things and figuring out ways to get her off, that she finally interrupted me and said that there was something that we could do that might work. She said I was not going to like it though. I said I was willing to do anything if it meant getting her across the finish line. Girlfriend said okay and opened her closet. She pulled out a hoodie and said her first boyfriend had that on when he took her virginity. I asked why did she still have it. She shrugged and said she didn't know. I asked what did she want us to do with her ex's hoodie, and she said that I should put it on and let her get on top of me. As soon as I put it on, my girlfriend became really dominant. She pushed me down and got on top. The animal inside of her came out, an animal I didn't even know existed. My girlfriend didn't get off, but she milked every minute I had that hoodie on. My girlfriend put the hoodie back in the closet when we were done and said that she was willing to let me wear it again if I was still feeling passionate about trying anything to get her off. I'm not gonna lie, it was not the biggest confidence boost to realize that my girlfriend was not only attached to her ex in some way, but also needed his personal belongings to bring out her wild side and potentially get her to climax, which I have been unable to do since the beginning of our relationship. All I wanted to do was make my girlfriend feel good in bed, and now it seems like I'm competing with her ex to do that. I hate hoodies now. Edit: the ex-boyfriend is dead. I should have included that information in my post. Sorry. In the comments, Watgoo says, yeah, the ex being dead changes everything. It goes from, hey, that's a really unhealthy attachment to a person she might see again, and that really sucks for your relationship, to, hey, this is way above Reddit's pay grade, but it sounds like she is coping with the death of her boyfriend, and she might need some more therapy for it. Also, this is a good lesson in taking no for an answer, and approaching sensitive topics in a different way. Sometimes it's better to ease into these things versus letting the dam break completely. The pestering is not a good trait to repeat. I was thinking that too. If you pester her enough about not getting off, she may just start feeling like a failure for not being able to and resent you for pushing her. The Wookie34 says, I don't know what happened with Reddit in the last 5 years, but I'ma use the age-old saying that has long left subs like this. This is above Reddit's pay grade. She needs help from a therapist. Yikes. My first love passed when I was young, and I still get reactions when I smell a cologne that smelled like him, or when someone says things that he used to me. It's possible it's what I had to work on in my situation. I felt like I couldn't connect sexually to someone after him because he was the first person I had sex with, and it ended in some of the worst heartbreak. So I didn't, or couldn't, let my guard down sexually with other men, especially if I had feelings for them. It took a lot of work for me to open up again to intimacy, and then, in turn, the idea of relaxing enough to let another person make me orgasm. It was like I was guilty for the intimacy if it wasn't with him, not because I was not in love or attracted to or sexually attracted to my current partner, but because my brain associated letting that guard down to him, and in turn, losing him. I can imagine it's not easy being on the other end of a partner that can't quite get over that mental block. I beat myself up for it every time we had sex, and he got a little self-conscious because I didn't orgasm. But it wasn't because of anything my current partner did or didn't do. I just had no closure from my first sexual experience. It was almost like my body had trained itself to only have strong bodily reactions to the ex that passed because there were so many strong, unresolved emotions around him. I was also afraid to get too intimate because I associated it with losing that person. Therapy is what helped me. My now fiancé and I have a great sex life that is full of intimacy and exploration. It just took a lot of work to get my brain over that mental hurdle of associating intimacy with loss, and therefore not being able to extend that to anyone but the person that I lost. And now, on to the update. My girlfriend and I decided to end our relationship. This happened on Sunday. The plan was to unpack the hoodie situation, the deceased ex-boyfriend, my girlfriend struggling to climax, her feelings towards me, my feelings towards her, our feelings towards getting therapy, etc. However, when I showed up at the flat to have that discussion, my girlfriend was no longer sober. I could see it in her eyes, hear it in her voice, smell it on her breath. She was drunk. It was out of character. My girlfriend usually avoids drinking too much. I asked her if she was in the mood to talk about what happened with the hoodie. My girlfriend said she never wanted to use the hoodie to hurt my feelings, but she got sick of hearing me talking about getting her off like it's become my life's work. I apologized for becoming obsessed with her orgasm and promised to tone it down. My girlfriend didn't seem to believe my promise and asked if I would ever enjoy sleeping with her if she never had an orgasm. I was honest and said with or without an orgasm, sex would always be enjoyable with her because I loved her. But deep down, I would probably feel like she's not getting the full experience if there was no satisfying payoff for her at the end. My girlfriend said that if I wanted a satisfying payoff, all I had to do was wear the hoodie again and again and again. I asked if that was really her talking or the alcohol. My girlfriend shrugged. I asked if she thought it was normal to ask her boyfriend to wear something that belonged to her dead boyfriend, especially during sex. My girlfriend struggled to stop the tears and said the hoodie actually belonged to the guy who was best friends with her dead boyfriend. She confessed to cheating on him before he passed away. I was speechless. My girlfriend clarified that the hoodie belonged to someone who was still alive. She taunted me to ask her why she had the hoodie of the guy who never loved her, why the hoodie made her go wild when I had it on, why she cheated on the guy she loved more than anyone, etc. I hugged her out of the blue until she managed to calm down. The two of us eventually ended up on the couch. We were too emotionally exhausted to continue talking. She fell asleep. When she woke up, she asked me to leave. for good. She said our relationship kind of tested her to see if she was really ready for another relationship since the death of her boyfriend. What happened with the hoodie made her realize something she apparently knew for a long time now. She was not ready for me, for us, for anyone. I did my best to fight for our relationship, but her mind was made up. She was done. We were done. I've been unable to sleep, hence my typing this post, while most people on my side of the planet are sleeping or almost getting up for work. I hope my ex-girlfriend will be okay. I hope I'll be okay. Too late, didn't read. The hoodie won. My girlfriend broke up with me. In the comments, it's tough to be in that situation, but it sounds like it was for the best for the both of you. No one should be in a committed relationship when they're not emotionally available. No one should be led to build emotional connections with someone who doesn't feel the same way. It was an explosive end, but it should have ended. And OP replies, I feel like it might have been less explosive if my girlfriend didn't get drunk. I'm sure there still would have been fireworks, but the alcohol definitely added an unnecessary meanness to the way that things were said. Anyway, what's done is done. It honestly sounds like she was trying to hurt you to make you want to break up with her. The hoodie didn't even make her orgasm, so her saying you would have to keep wearing the hoodie if you wanted her to finish doesn't even make sense, except if it was just being said to put you off. I think she knows she shouldn't be in a relationship, but she's afraid that she would cave if you begged her to stay, so being mean to you was a way to make sure that you didn't. I'm so sorry you had to go through this, dude, and the way she did things was unnecessarily mean. You handled it extremely well. I can guarantee that breaking up is the best for the both of you. I'm a strong believer in anyone can get something from talking therapy, so if you want to, go for it. Your ex will never have a healthy relationship again if she doesn't have therapy. I'd advise you to cut contact cold turkey and ignore any attempts to get back in contact in the future. If she still is in the state to contact you, then she won't have done the necessary work. You deserve better. Sounds like this breakup will do good for the both of you, and no matter what will happen on the other side, keep up and find something new to go for. Life is limitless. The end of a chapter only meant that a new one has the possibility to start. Go and explore all of them. And OP replies, I'm planning a road trip with my dog. It was supposed to be the three of us, but not anymore. Hopefully I find something new along the way. Just a man and his dog on a road trip. Really doesn't get better than that. I had a really bad breakup that screwed me up for a while, and my dog was the biggest factor getting me through. I also stayed single for over a year, and am just now getting back into the dating scene. It's important to take time to process these feelings. Try not to get down on yourself and just have some fun. Well, that really was a very messy breakup, but I believe as well that she was pushing him away, intentionally trying to piss him off so that he would break up with her. Seems as though the ex-girlfriend is going through an incredibly tough time and took it out on OP in the worst way possible. There is no excuse for her behavior. It's an absolutely awful way to treat someone that you're supposed to care about, and it's a complete gut punch, punch in the face, punch in the heart. Just everything. Deplorable behavior. There's no excuse, but I understand why she did it. Could've, would've, should've been managed better, but hey, that's just life sometimes, unfortunately. Posted by user WhiskeyGinger99, titled, My 24 female, boyfriend, 24 male, of 4 years, has been cheating for 6 months. Basically what the title says. I woke up yesterday to a text from the other woman. She found my Facebook, telling me everything. She didn't even know I existed, but as soon as she learned he had a girlfriend, she came right to me. I was just frickin' sick. I kept telling myself this couldn't be real, that my baby wouldn't do this to me, that he loves me. But it was all true. She showed me the evidence, and when I confronted him, he didn't even try to deny it. He just made some lame-ass excuses like, I was depressed, and we had common interests. This piece of shit laid in bed next to me every night, reassuring me that I was loved and he wouldn't ever hurt me. I've been so insecure for weeks now that something was gonna happen, that things in my life never stay good this long. Well, I was sure as shit right. He was doing us both in the same day just to try to keep up his lies. Now both the other woman and I have to get STD tests because I don't believe him when he says that we were the only ones. I don't know how to move on from this. I kicked him out, and I won't be taking him back. But how do I ever learn to trust again? He was my entire world. Every aspect of my life is tainted by his memory. If someone who had dedicated himself to me for so long would do this, then how can I trust someone I just met? I don't even have many guy friends because he was too insecure. I had to be ultra modest and couldn't really hang out with guys. I don't even like the way I look anymore because all I see is how the other woman is prettier, skinnier, has a flat belly. I don't know, I'm just rambling at this point. In the comments, All Out of F says, "I'm sorry that happened to you. That really sucks. For the time being, just focus on yourself. Give yourself some self-care. First thing is go ahead and scream, cry, whatever you feel you need to do, and then block him. Clean out the house and toss anything that belongs to him. If you want him to pick anything up, put it out on the porch so you won't have to deal with him again. If you have mementos to keep, put them in a box and put the box in a closet somewhere so you don't have to see those things every day. Paint, organize, redecorate, make your place all your own. Breaking up with someone, especially long-term, is a great time to do this. You don't have to compromise on anything and only have to please yourself. Spend time with friends and family. Pick up a new hobby or return to an old one. Get a new haircut, take a class, volunteer somewhere. Stay busy. But don't forget to have some downtime so you can rest. You're going to be okay." And OP replies, "Thank you. This is really helpful advice." And now, onto the update. First of all, I just want to say thank you for all the love and support that I received in the comments. All the amazing comments really helped me with knowing that I made the right choice. It's been a little over a week now since I kicked him out, and I have some new updates. My ex and his mother came to pick up his stuff the day after while I was with my own mum. I still feel awful that his mum had to spend Mother's Day moving all his crap out of my house. Since then, all communication has been going through her. She's come over a few times to grab things that he left, and we've had a good time just talking. We were always close, and she is 100% on my side in this. Honestly, I think she's angrier at her son than I am. As for me, well, I'm doing really good. I just got a new job today, and I start on Thursday. Fingers crossed I'll be able to be completely independent of him in the next month. I've been slowly cleaning the house after he left it a disaster. His old office was the absolute worst. He just left piles of trash in the corner for me to deal with. I feel like I owe my trash guys some cookies or something for the amount of crap that they hold away. But the biggest update of all is that I've started seeing someone new. My new boyfriend is so amazing. I can't believe he's real sometimes. We've been friends for almost a year now, and he's been my biggest supporter through my breakup. There was some mutual attraction, but we kept our distance due to me being in a relationship. I didn't even intend to start dating again so soon, but I just fell head over heels for him. We're taking things slow right now. I still need to heal, and he's perfectly fine with that. Although, to be honest, it feels like the best revenge to be seeing a new guy who treats me like an absolute princess while still having my ex pay my bills. I realized just now how abusive my ex was. I always told myself that because he never hit me and supported me through my mental health struggles, that he couldn't be abusive. But the more distance I get, the more I wipe every trace of him from my home, the more I realize how much I lived in fear of him. I lied so much to the people I loved just so that no one knew who he really was. If he was in a bad mood, he would just pick at me to try and hurt me. I was his bang maid and nothing else. He spent all his time away from me locked in his office, and I'm not the only one he treated badly. The changes in my dog are absolutely insane. It's like he's a new animal. I worry now what was really going on when I wasn't around. I never knew my dog was so playful. I always assumed he was just lazy. Turns out he loves to play and bark and just be a dog without a grown man screaming at him. So yeah, life is going well. I go to get the STD test done in an hour and a half, so I'll make a small update on this post when I get the results. Edit. So I'm seeing a lot of people accusing me of having an emotional affair in the comments, which I totally understand given the information that I provided. Firstly, he lives 11 hours away and we have never even met in person. When I say we had a thing for each other, I don't mean we had feelings for each other or even a crush. We both thought the other was good looking but drew a hard line when it came to flirting or anything like that. If we hung out in a voice channel, it was only in a group, and our DMs were exclusively asking if the other was joining the group for games. Something I still do with my other friends. I was admittedly checked out of my relationship for a while, but that was after the cheating started and he became distant. I worked a lot and really didn't do much else aside from play games online with friends like once a week. I totally understand if people still feel like I had an emotional affair. I just wanted to add some more context. Figured an edit would be easier than replying to individual comments. Edit 2. Okay, I am sick of explaining this over and over again. Whether you think I had an emotional affair or not is whatever, but I was not checked out of my relationship. I was actively trying to fix things with my now ex up until the moment that I learned he screwed another woman. Do not try to sit here and tell me that my choice to start dating my friend is equal to the constant lies and gaslighting that my ex put me through. This man sat there and held me while I cried about how scared I was to lose him. He told me over and over that he loved me, that I was just paranoid, that he would never cheat on me. He cared more about getting laid, and mind you, we had a very active sex life, than he did about being faithful to someone he made a commitment to. How can you even think that me finding my friend's voice attractive, a friend, mind you, that I was never even alone with, is just as bad or the reason he cheated? True emotional affairs are awful. They are just as painful as cheating. I made sure every step of the way that I never crossed that line. I was respectful, I was loyal, and I never said anything that could even be registered as flirting until after my ex and I broke up. My ex was a horrible, abusive piece of shit. There are holes in the walls of my home because of him. I get scared anytime my dog bothers someone to play with him because I'm worried my pup is going to get yelled at. I spent 4 years on eggshells because of him. Don't effing pity him or tell me that his cheating and abuse is my fault. I met my now boyfriend in August of 2022. I had been with my ex since December of 2018, so please, keep telling me that his behavior was because of some so-called emotional affair. In the comments, every guard says, "Glad you're doing well. And even though you said you're going to take it slow, I hope that you do take some time for yourself before fully jumping into this new relationship. Starting a new relationship just after a long-term one ended so terribly can be sensitive to everyone. Oftentimes, individuals will miss or ignore potential red flags due to this, so best to play it safe." I said the same. Talking from experience, don't do it. It's better to resolve your issue than to jump that step so soon. Heal first, date second. Whether she had an emotional affair or not is irrelevant. I'm worried that she seems to place so much of her self-worth on her relationships and the men that she dates though. Less than 2 weeks after the man that was her world broke her heart, she's already waxing poetic about how this new guy is so amazing and so perfect and treats her so well. I don't want to be the common Reddit downer that says this is a mistake or this won't end well, but at the very least I think she needs therapy. This is all just sad. Agreed. After 4 years, she moved on in 2 weeks. She needs therapy and needs to learn how to be by herself. So many people are afraid to be by themselves that they just move on from one person to the next in an instant. I think she'll realize she's trying to cover up her pain with a new relationship, but that's not how it works. At least the other guy lives far away, so I can't imagine they have serious plans for the future already. I think the distance makes it worse. Easier for her to create an idealized version of him in her head. Easier for him to lie to her if he is so inclined. Everyone worried about her emotionally cheating, and I'm here like, girl, you're calling someone a boyfriend only 9 days after breaking up? It's like the dude was suddenly there and made himself available, and she jumped on it. This screams someone who can't be alone, and it's a bit worrying, especially if her ex was abusive. Hope she gets some therapy. Right? 90% of these relationship advice posts, I'm like, girl, I'm begging you to please be single and focus on yourself for a year or 2. Thanks, It's a Disorder says, my ex-husband reached out to me because he is divorcing his second wife. I was so bummed for him when I found out she made him stop talking to me because she thought that we were having an affair. Like, I'm divorced from him. I love him because he's my high school BFF and we wanted different things. He wanted a family and I realized I didn't want kids. Anyway, back to the point. He asked me if he should be getting back out there and I was like, dude, finish your divorce and then wait a bit and try to date. He catches feelings so fast and can't do casual sex. I told him he needed to date someone for a minimum of 3 years before marrying them. We were high school besties and dated for 6 months before getting married at 22. We divorced at 24. He remarried at 26 after dating her for 1 year. I've been with my boyfriend for 5 years and don't even want to be engaged. I get your point, but giving numbers like 3 years or using your own personal view on how long it takes before someone should be ready doesn't sound very helpful, to be honest. I'd talk to him more about the issues leading him to jumping into a marriage/serious relationship rather than giving some arbitrary number on how long it should take. I read an article that said the honeymoon phase of a relationship usually lasts about 2 years, and then you enter into the next stage of the relationship. Can't remember the name of the stage, and that's when the relationship is usually put to the test because you aren't getting butterflies every time you think of them anymore, and they're not necessarily the very first thing you think of when you wake up or the last thing you think of while falling asleep, and to not get married until you're out of the honeymoon phase. I do think people should date longer before proposing and getting married. I know there's the couples out there that dated for 2 to 3 months and then got married, and they're still together to this day, so of course there's a story for every example. I guess I view it as, what's the rush? If you're planning on spending the rest of your life together, why not wait an extra 1 to 2 years before proposing? Honestly, I really like that advice. I feel like there is no rush. And I also do feel like OP was having an emotional affair. I love beating this dead horse. As much as she's trying to beat the charges, I feel like the evidence against her is too much. She's talked herself into a hole. I think that is a perfect example of why people lie, or they spin stories to be as favorable to them as possible. Her being transparent in this situation only led me to thinking that, oh my god, yes, he sucks for cheating on her, but it does sound like she was emotionally cheating on him at the same time. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What are yours, guys? I'd love to know down in the comments below. Our next post is by user OKFirefighter602, titled, Am I the asshole for breaking a promise and attending my stepdaughter's graduation? I'll start by explaining some backstory. I, 54 male, lost my first wife when my son, 25 male, and daughter, 22 female, were 9 and 12. Both my kids took it as hard as you would expect, and to this day have a poor relationship with both my current wife, Doreen, and my stepdaughter, Amy, 18 female. I started dating Doreen about 4 months after my first wife passed. As such, my kids believe I cheated on their mum. Amy was 5 when we got together, and as such, I see her as my own daughter. On to the actual story. 4 years ago, 2 days before Kay's high school graduation, Amy got very ill while visiting her grandparents and ended up needing emergency surgery. My wife and I rushed to be with Amy, and admittedly, I did not communicate very well with Kay. At the time, Kay didn't pick up my calls, so I left her a voicemail and several text messages explaining what happened and telling Kay I was sorry, but I would make it up to her. A few hours go by and I get a call from Kay. She is in hysterics, telling me what a terrible father I am, and stated that if I did not attend her graduation, I would be dead to her. I chose to support Amy. True to her words, Kay did not contact me on the day of her graduation, and when I came home, Kay's things had been moved out of the house with a note explaining that we were no longer family and to never contact her again. Luckily, Kay and I were able to reconcile. However, I promised her I would give her absolutely anything in the world to make her forgive me. She said that she would forgive me as long as I refused to attend Amy's graduation, as this was the only way to make it fair. I agreed at the time, thinking she was just joking or angry and would soon forget. This leads me to now. Invitations for Amy's graduation went out, and despite all the hostility, Amy wanted to make sure Kay got one. Kay called Amy later that day and said she would be unable to attend as she and I would be spending the day together per our agreement. Amy broke down into tears asking me why I was missing her graduation, and I assured her that I was not and that I would speak to Kay. Later, I explained to Kay that I simply could not miss Amy's graduation. Kay launched into a tirade about how I was a liar and an asshole, and how could I do this to her again. I told her that we would talk when she calmed down, and she said we would never talk again. My son and several of our extended family have all taken Kay's side, saying I didn't see how hurt she was at graduation. My wife believes that I'm the asshole for even promising that in the first place, as I should have known that it would only upset one or both girls. And Amy is just sad and confused, wondering why Kay hates her. I know keeping my promise and not attending Amy's graduation is probably the only way to salvage my relationship with Kay, but no matter how I look at it, I would feel like I'm punishing Amy for having a medical issue. So am I the asshole? Edit to add some relevant info. I never cheated on my first wife. Your accusations are honestly tiring and disgusting. Amy's bio-father was never in her life. I am not Amy's biological father. That wasn't ever even in question, as we are not the same race. Amy had appendicitis. She was staying over 4 hours away at her grandparents' house. At the time, we left the only info Dorian's mother would give us, as she passed out and wouldn't wake up. My daughter was moved out of our house for about a month and a half, after which we made up, and she returned to live with us for another 2 years before going away to school. I did not believe Kay when she said she wanted me to miss Amy's graduation, as it seemed like a ridiculous request. Despite what you all may believe, our relationship was fine after this event. We were in near daily contact, and she would frequently visit us. Honestly, OP, you're the asshole for this one, and you should feel bad for even making that promise in the first place. All you did was kick the can down the road. That's all you did. You know Kay. You know how much hurt she was in. Why wouldn't you believe her when she said that? She was being genuine in her request, and you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna lie to your face. It is so obvious you prefer Amy over Kay, yet you still want Kay to be in your life as you continue to beat her down and lie to her face. I'll be frank, you don't deserve to have Kay in your life if this is how you continue to treat her. If you really believed it was a joke, you would have said that when Kay asked you to skip Amy's graduation, except you didn't. And why didn't you ask her? Is it maybe because you knew she was being serious about it? You knew that if you said no to her, that she would cut you out of her life. Well, guess what? You're trying to have your cake and eat it too, and it's not working out for you, OP. You're going to be an asshole no matter what you do. You're the asshole. In the comments, Angry Trans says, "You're the asshole and have been for years. You are a bad father. Kay is correct. You're a liar. You have done nothing to prioritize Kay ever since your new family rolled in. Your relationship with your daughter is dead, and the blood is on your hands." Seriously though, you never should have promised Kay that, knowing full well that you had no intention of keeping your word. And now you're being a bad father to Amy too, by trying to use her tears and guilt to dig yourself out of the grave that you dug yourself with Kay. Seems like all OP cared about was getting his way in the moment. Seems like that may be a pattern. All OP cares about is getting his dick wet 4 months after his wife died. No concern for his kids at all. I stopped reading at that part. Don't need to know the details of this carnage. You're the asshole. You replaced your kid's mum with a new family 4 months after she died. Your kids lost their mum so young, and you don't seem like you prioritized their feelings or helped them deal with things. Instead, you moved on fast. Kay didn't have a mother to attend her graduation, and she needed you there. Could you not have driven to the graduation, then back to the hospital? I call BS on him not cheating. I don't, but mostly because I've seen, and been propositioned by, more than enough guys who were so completely allergic to the idea of being an actual parent to their kids that they legitimately convinced themselves that it was doing right by the kids to rush into a second marriage. And considering the level of parenting horribleness that we're looking at here, OP is just as likely one of those dudes as a cheater. Absolutely. I saw this couple online who posted a video about the husband's late wife who died during birth. Less than a year after, the father marries his babysitter. In the video, the new wife says something like, "That's my baby in there, but that's not me," with a picture of the late wife pregnant. She was talking about her like she was their surrogate or something. So definitely some people just look for a replacement parent right away. And now, onto the update. I wasn't sure if I wanted to post an update after the reaction I got last time. I can stomach death threats against myself, but directing such hatred towards my children was truly disgusting. But the graduation has come and gone, and I thought I should share how it all went down. I'm sure most of you will be displeased. Amy was mad at me for a few days, but we have a strong bond and she quickly got over it. The saint that she is said that she would understand if I wanted to miss it to make it up to Kay. I told her I wouldn't do that to her and reassured her that she has done nothing wrong. As for the elephant in the room, Kay, she and my son live in the same city and work in the same field, so they're as close as ever. My son and his partner were giving her a lot of emotional support at this time. In the end, she decided not to attend Amy's graduation, but sent flowers and a card with my son. There were a lot of nasty messages directed towards her, which I feel is completely unacceptable. She isn't mean or vindictive, she is a smart, very kind, very empathetic woman. She made a bizarre ultimatum as a confused and hurt teenager. I certainly don't think that makes her a bad person. I know all of you seem to think that I hate my children, but the amount of pain I feel at the deterioration of my relationship with my daughter is unexplainable. I've been on and off antidepressants since the death of my wife, and at my therapist's suggestion, will be going back on them. It's taking all of my willpower not to reach out to her again, but I've already disrespected her wishes enough. She can choose to reach out to me when and if she ever wants to again, and I'll be waiting. I know it's not the most impactful update, and I'm sure most of you wanted to see me left miserable and alone, but I don't live my life for anyone else's entertainment. I can accept that I'm the asshole. Maybe I'm an asshole in general, but I'm not some evil monster that you all want me to be. I'm a man that made the mistake of sharing his problems with the internet, a mistake I won't be making again. I probably won't delete this account, but I'm not going to be updating in the future. Goodbye. Opie, no one thinks that you're living life for anyone else's entertainment. Everyone thinks you're just a bad person. As much as you like to say you're not an evil monster, you're being one in this situation. You absolutely are being one. Now that you've said all of this, I hope for Kay's peace of mind and overall sanity that she never reaches out to you ever again. And no, you haven't made a mistake by posting this on the internet. You've just been outed for the terrible person that you are. And instead of doing the right thing, you're going to shut everyone out and be like, you know what? I don't like criticism. I can't handle it. Anyway, in the comments, Yogurt Closet Weird 789 says, "Look, OP, I get that you're human, just a man. But you can't get away with the I made mistakes because you made the same ones over and over again. I don't understand trolls and stupid people with the death threats or nasty messages about your kids. That's wrong and disgusting. The only issue I have here is you. The fact that you claim to love Kay and how it's breaking your heart that she wants nothing to do with you is your own fault. Every mistake you made and repeated always seems to be against her. I don't actually think you care about Kay all that much, as you still have Amy. Now you've decided, oh well, I've effed up again and made so many mistakes, I'll just leave her alone and not confront the fact that you failed her as a supportive father. Own it. Change your damn ways. Believe me, you're not the worst dad out there, but you are a shitty one to Kay. When will you wake up and realize without the self-pity that you have to be the one to make amends? Why on earth should she contact you? Do you not care that one day she'll get married and you won't be invited to the wedding or even walk her down the aisle? When she has her first child and you find out through the grapevine instead of being a grandpa? Maybe one day she will forgive you, but not if your solution is just to give her space. Seems to me that she had a lot of space from you already. All she wants was your time and sole attention for a bit, and you've never been able to give her that. I feel for both your son and daughter, because it seems you have a favorite, and you don't care as long as Amy is okay. Let me guess and say your wife thinks it's best to give her the space. Amy may be a nice girl, but I bet your wife has encouraged your behavior. It's honestly sad. And OP replies, I'm giving Kay space because that's what she said she wants. I can't do anything other than that. No matter what, I'm still going to be there for her any way I can. But for the time being, I'm not going to pester her or beg for her forgiveness because that's not what she wants. I have made mistakes, and at the top of that list is not listening to my children when they tell me exactly what they need from me. Lol, you can't give someone space when they have chosen to go low or no contact, dude. You need to accept the fact that Kay is no longer a part of your life. You traded her for Saint Amy, remember? At best, you can hope Kay will let you follow her on social media so you can watch her life from afar and know it's your own fault you are not a part of it. Try not to be too surprised when she gets married without you walking her down the aisle or even inviting you. Why would she bother when she'd just be disappointed again? Who knows? Amy might have a toothache that day. But hey, at least you have your deceased wife's best friend and her kid to replace the ones you lost, right? Because I doubt your son is going to be around much either. I have a feeling these are only 2 incidents of many that Kay feels second best to. Her attempting going no contact after the graduation thing tells me that he had done other things to her. Most people don't go no contact from a single event. What he did was disrespectful, but if they had a good relationship before that, they probably could have worked it out over time without Kay making such an ultimatum. The fact she was so quick to say nah, screw it, I'm out, even if they did make up later, is pretty telling. Got a real missing reasons vibes going on here. Yep. Missing indeed. You know there's something squirrely going on in the house when your stepsister is in the hospital and your response is to throw a tantrum because you're not getting Dad's attention on your big day. Bet you anything Dad and Doreen set up Amy to be the golden child in that house and the 2 OG kids were marginalized right from the get-go. Kay still had hope her dad was going to love her and actually show it. I bet the son saw the writing on the wall and pieced the F out. Now he's broken the relationship irreparably. It's okay though, he still has Saint Amy. Posted by user EarthClassic230, titled, "Would I be the arsehole if I didn't get my sister a wedding gift?" Okay, so I, 25 male, am a wedding planner, so when my sister, 32 female, announced that she was getting married, most of our family, her included, assumed that I would help plan it for her. I initially didn't really want to, as her wedding is right in the middle of busy season, so I'd miss out on gigs that would pay. But then I decided that she's my sister, and this would be a good wedding gift and would just help with the wedding stress. She was happy when I agreed, and we started going over her plans and themes. I found some venues and we went to look at them. I took care of all the catering, so all she had to do was taste test and pick. I was also able to use my connections to get her special deals and stuff like that. At first it was pretty smooth, but as time went on it just got more and more stressful. She wouldn't communicate with anyone and almost got her photographer to quit. I had to convince him to stay. She'd constantly change her mind on things and then get mad that they were changed, as I should have known that she was just being indecisive and that I should have stuck with the first option. While I was setting up the registry, she told me that I could have first dibs on what gift I was getting her. I looked at her confused and said that my help planning was my gift. She then said that a lot of family helped out and they are still getting gifts. I told her that other family members helped move furniture or lend me their car to pick up supplies. I was doing most of the work and missing out on actually getting paid helping her. She said she's grateful for my help, but that this wouldn't really constitute a gift unless I was paying for things like the dress or the venue. And she said it didn't matter when I brought up that my connections have literally saved her thousands when you add them up. She's now calling me cheap and is getting our family involved. I don't know what she told them, as they won't tell me, but they keep saying how selfish I am to make my sister's big day all about me. If I could afford it, I wouldn't mind getting her something, but the cheapest thing in the registry is almost $200, and I'm not well off. Plus my loss of income, I can't afford something like that right now. I want to support her, but I don't think I'm going to get her a gift. Would I be the asshole if I didn't? Honestly, no. If the cheapest thing on her registry is $200 and she's not paying you for this, she can go shove that up her ass. It is insane to be demanding so much of you when you're not being paid for this. I don't really have much else to say that isn't abusing your sister, so I'm gonna go not the arsehole for this one, OP. In the comments, Pleasant Koala 147 says, "Not the arsehole. Make an itemized bill for her outlining the hours you've spent, the income you've lost by turning down paid gigs, and the savings you got her through your contacts. Print the final total in big bold numbers, then print gifted in red letters across the front. Frame it and put it on a stand at the gift table at her wedding so everyone can see how generous you've been. Anyone tries to argue that you've been selfish, tell them to read it out loud. If they accuse you of being petty, tell them that it wouldn't have been necessary if it had been appreciated by the bride and themselves." I'd even go a step further and give her this bill. Say if she wants a registry gift, she can pay this lol, not the asshole. OP, this is the way. A lot of people don't realize just how much work something like event planning is. Not just that, a real family member would be supporting his small business by paying his rates. I had a press-on nail business for a little bit and expected family to ask for free nails, but they gave orders and actually paid more than I quoted. Not the asshole in any way, shape, or form. Your time is valuable, and you sound like you've put a lot of effort into helping her with her wedding. She has offered you nothing in return at all, actually when a wedding planner would normally be very expensive. I think that is a lovely gift to give someone, and if she's going to flip out on you for not getting her a material item, then it shows how much she values your time. What an asshole. Here is the gift you should give her. Add up all of your time and what you would charge a normal client, put it in an invoice, and write "free of charge because I love you" next to the total charge. Buy a lovely wedding card and insert the invoice into the card and give it to her. Then she will see what you got her for her wedding, which I expect will be a damn sight more than anyone else got her. This has now made me angry, and I'm going to angrily boil the kettle and make tea like a proper English person would in this situation. And now, onto the update. I took some of your advice, but didn't go as extreme as I think some of you are hoping I would. Sorry, but I can be a bit of a people pleaser, and I don't want to ruin what is supposed to be a happy moment in her life. I put together a list of everything I had done, including all the discounts I had gotten her. I'm not sure if she knew they were discounts as I didn't say they were discounts. I was saying things like, I have been able to get you a quote of X amount from Y for Z, as well as stating what I would normally charge for a wedding this size. I then texted her to ask if we could get some lunch and talk. When she arrived, I showed her the list and explained that I'm not asking her to pay this, but wanted her to see how much I'm helping her and how much money I'm losing by doing her wedding instead of taking on a client who would pay. At first, she was shocked at the amount and accused me of lying to try and make her feel bad. I was able to show her bills from other weddings that I had done before, and a quick Google search showed that my prices are pretty average. She had never looked up any wedding planner or their rates because she assumed I was always going to do it. She said she thought it wasn't that much, as I didn't seem to be well off. I told her that while it does pay well, I can't take on crazy amounts of clients since I need to give quality service, and that I might not always get clients all year. Plus, I have a few medical expenses that can take out a large chunk. She said I still must have some money saved up. I said I do, but that I would be having to use it to cover my bills and stuff, since my income is taking a hit due to taking on her wedding. After a while of insisting that some of the items on her registry aren't that expensive, she relented. I wouldn't have to get her anything since I had gotten her enough discounts to qualify as a gift, and that she was grateful for my help and services. Honestly, I didn't know how much this was stressing me until the relief washed over me. I was thankful that this was over and we could continue with planning her wedding. I asked her to clear things up with our family as they won't talk to me about it. She agreed and sent a group text explaining that the gift incident was just a misunderstanding and that we have talked it out and cleared things up. For those who are saying that her registry seems very expensive, her new husband, his family, friends, and a lot of her friends are very wealthy, and she makes sure that our parents and other close family are taken care of, so she has kind of become disconnected from people with normal financial status like me. There's a lot of things on the list like designer handbags, clothes, shopping sprees, dinners, and even a car and second home on there. The cheaper items are some simple jewelry that she liked. She paid for my part of the lunch as an apology, and since I'm struggling and things are all good now, I think. Thanks, everyone. In the comments, Wienerworld says, she thought your work wasn't worth much because you were poor, so she expected you to do it for free and also come up with the money for a gift? Glad you set her straight, OP. Oh, it's worse. Wedding planner must not be a good paying job because OP seems so poor. However, at the same time, she's all sure OP gets paid enough that she's got major leisure savings accounts that she can dip into. How on earth can someone be poor and rich at the same time, lady? She has a designer purse and a vacation home on her wedding registry? OP replies, she does. It's kind of insane to me at least, but she insisted that it was normal for people like her. Lamau, it's not. Ultra-wealthy parents or grandparents may gift a couple their first home, or similar, but random guests, even amongst uber wealthy, are not gifting real estate. Even designer bags are really, really gauche. She doesn't know what she thinks she does. It's actually really funny. Wow. The audacity to say, well, sure, you saved me thousands of dollars, but I'm sure you can afford to get me something off the registry, therefore you must still get me a gift. What a piece of work. I know, the audacity. I think she was still acting awful during the whole discussion of the wedding planning details that were laid out by OP. Oh, your services can't possibly cost that much. You're just lying to make me look bad. Oh, it really does cost that much? Then you must be rich, and you can afford to buy me an expensive gift, in addition to providing me all of your professional services for free. And then when she finally caves and basically says, okay, I'll accept all of the amazing work you were doing for me, but still takes it for granted and makes life difficult. For example, poor communication with photographer and others, poor OP is relieved. I think cis bride is so self-absorbed and entitled, if I were OP, I would probably start distancing myself from her. And honestly, I would too if I were OP. She doesn't sound like someone that is particularly nice to have in your life. Sounds like someone you go low contact with, at least. Let her live in her own land of grand delusion. I wouldn't need that on my plate if I were you. Anyway, guys, what do you think of this one? I'd love to know in the comments down below. Our next post is by user ThrowRA titled, "My husband, 35 male, demanded that I, 29 female, stop cooking for friends." So my husband and I have been married for 3 months. He comes from a much more traditional background than I do. When we were dating, he swept me off my feet. We went out for dinners, lovely vacations, and he bought me numerous care packages. He works as an executive and makes good money. Last year, I started a baked goods side hustle. It brings me so much joy. I ended up becoming really busy, made more friends, and now I'm way more social. My husband has become angry that I cook and spend evenings with my girlfriends. It's maybe 1 to 2 nights a week, and I really don't see people much outside of that. He said I'm not a good wife and he feels used. When I said I was going to buy a car with my own money, he became even angrier. He refused to pay for groceries and said that I need to contribute more money. So now with working, cooking lunch and dinner, it's become exhausting. How could I reason with my husband? I feel like I've grown a lot and he's not happy. Yeah, that's because he doesn't have you completely under his control anymore, OP. You were able to finally carve yourself out a niche in life, financially and socially, after he spent so much time love-bombing you and distancing you from support systems, as well as not having a car that you can drive? Because from the way you put it, it seems as though he isolates you at home with no car. And as soon as you want to buy a car, he's like, you know what? Let's just make sure she can't afford it because I'm going to make her pay for everything. Classic manipulative tactics from this man. He sounds like a real piece of work. Anyway, in the comments, Peak Penguin says, quote, "He said I'm not a good wife and he feels used." I'd be interested in hearing him explain in detail how you are not being a good wife, by spending time with people who aren't him, doing things that aren't for him. And I would want to know about how her baking and cooking makes him feel used. Is he an oven? OP replies, "He keeps telling me that he's unhappy, which is strange, because I've been really happy and bubbly. He says I'm not pulling my weight because I don't cook as much. He stopped buying food for us, so it's been more work to keep up. You are happy outside of his influence. That makes him unhappy, and he is trying to manipulate you by telling you that you are a bad wife. That's BS. Eek! One being happy when the other person is out of the picture is a big, big red flag. The reality is, your husband wants a traditional wife. He wants a woman whose sole existence is to serve him and his family. Your role is to cook for him, take care of him, bear and rear as many or as few kids as he desires, and put up with whatever he wants. He makes a bunch of money and he feels as though it's his right as not only a man, but a successful man. I get everyone on Reddit telling you not to tolerate it, and you shouldn't, but you need to be hyper-realistic about the situation you're in. He isn't going to change. There is no point trying to convince him. If you try to change him, one of 2, or I guess 3 things are going to happen. He will leave you, cheat on you, or become violent. He has already become angry with you for beginning to challenge him, so do not doubt the possibility that he will become physical. You need to simply decide if your and his views on what a marriage should be are compatible, and they very well may not be. But if this isn't what you want, you need to make plans to leave, not plans to stand up for him. Otherwise, you may be in physical danger, or at a minimum left in a situation with no plan. He may become vengeful in a divorce and do everything he can to take everything from you and leave you with even less than you came into the marriage with. I can't impress upon you that the choices are either accept the marriage that he wants or do not say anything until you're in a position to quickly and safely leave. And OP replies, "Thank you. I'm realizing it's worse than I thought. He's been acting strangely, like booking vacations without telling me, threatening to have an open marriage, all because I haven't been cooking in the last month and not putting any effort into our marriage. I guess I didn't want to say it, but he has started yelling over things as well. We dated for 1.5 years, and a lot of this stuff is out of character. I guess I'll quietly make a decision without him." It is not out of character. This is the real him. What he was before was a lie, a farce, and a mask. The mean, threatening, controlling, abusive person is the real him. You need to accept that the love bombing phase was a complete lie. Who he is now is the real him. I'm sorry. Narcissistic abusers usually make it through about 1 to 2 years of love bombing before the mask slips, and when you're wearing rose-tinted glasses, it's easy to miss the red flags. He thought he was on a good path to isolating you and making you fully dependent on him as he molded you into the perfect little wifey. You haven't been fully broken yet, and now that you've demonstrated that you can be independent and happy without him, he is panicking and threatening you with anything he can to get you back in line. Please get all of your important documents and possessions moved out without him knowing, and set up a bank account that he doesn't know about and can't access. Once you can safely leave, get out while he's not home, because it's almost guaranteed that his abuse will escalate, especially if he realizes that you're leaving him. Please don't become a true crime story. And now, onto the update. Hi Reddit, I posted a few months ago here. And wow, I wasn't expecting such an outpouring of support and comments from all of you. I read all of your comments and kept coming back to the page. I wanted to update earlier, but I needed to give myself time. Things have been really messy and hectic, and I had a hard time thinking anything through. I really tried to reason with my husband. I just couldn't get through to him. Any conversation would turn to him saying, "You said you love me, but your actions don't match." Or the silent treatment, or him suddenly saying I'm not bringing in enough money, etc., etc. I spent so much time crying and curled into a ball, shaking from anxiety, that eventually I just became numb. I finally decided to take a break and moved in with a friend of mine. It's been a month. It's hard and it sucks. My husband says that now he can safely date other people and that these other women are less demanding and treat him better. He keeps reminding me that I've put on a little bit of weight and that he wants someone who is healthier. So for me, I've been focusing on work and spending time with my friends. I don't know what will happen with my husband or if he will ever come around. I know it's not exactly a perfect update, but this is where I am. Unfortunately, I don't have my baking supplies, but I'm hoping in the future I'll be more settled. Thanks again, Reddit. In the comments, Constant Cultural says, "OP, try to get an annulment of this marriage. This man was and never will be a good husband to you. You were his maid and nothing more." Quote, "My husband says that he can now safely date other people and that these other women are less demanding and treat him better." That just sounds like a narcissist trying to coax you to come back by showing you all the other juicy narcissist's victims ready to come play with him. He doesn't get that this is rather repulsive. And you don't get by now, OP, what a huge favor he would do you if he really moved on and left you alone. Already told you back then to grow serious saber-toothed tiger's teeth and bite back. Wish him best of luck with his new easygoing harem. He expects you to cry and grovel to be allowed to crouch back under His Majesty's protective wings. That's how he views himself. Leather Opinion says, "So not only did he make you feel horrible, made you cry, fat-shame you and try to manipulate you, he's also trying to make you crawl back to him at his beck and call and make you jealous. These are his true colors, OP. You've built something for yourself that you love to do outside of your relationship and made friends that he is angry about that. He's angry because you have accomplished something. He's angry that you are happy and that you have friends. He can't do anything. I still don't understand what he meant by "you love me, but your actions don't match." Like how? What have you supposedly done that your actions of love don't match when you say it? How did he feel used when you started your business and go out with friends? Well, let me tell you, he didn't. He's just mad at you because you've done something for yourself and you were successful and happy, and he is jealous of that. He's just trying to find things to start problems that don't even need to be there. You deserve better than him, and since you guys are separated, he thinks he can cheat on you? You don't need that from him. Also, you are a beautiful person inside and out. Don't let his words about your body get to you. If he wants a skinny girl, then by all means let him have a skinny girl. It's okay if you've put on a little bit of weight, bigger girls are better. To be honest, you really need to have a conversation with him on why he feels this way and resents you. If he still ignores you and doesn't want to do anything to fix things with you, just divorce him. A man like that will never come around. And OP replies, "His true colors are here. He isn't who he used to be. We went from such a happy dating life. He was so generous and always treated me for meals and vacations, and he was emotionally available and always willing to listen. I didn't see the red flags because I thought it was because of his culture. He said, 'Oh, your financial background is very, very bad. My family won't accept you.' I believed him because I don't have a formal education. I blamed myself for being so anxious and needy, but when I healed my anxious attachment style, I became a healthier and happier version of myself. Then the wheels really fell off. So basically, this is a very long response to say thank you. I needed this thread. I come back to hear positive words like yours, telling me I'm worth more and still beautiful, even from the stress of overeating. So thank you. Thank you." Dudefluencer says, "And let's be honest, based on 95% of Reddit threads I've seen here, when the husband says he can safely date other people and that these other women are less demanding and treat him better, he's lying, and will have a rude awakening once OP starts dating again." What do you mean? A successful woman who is also a part-time model will have such a hard time finding someone to date. Seriously though, she'll find someone far better now that she knows some red flags to watch out for. And hopefully decide not to get married again for a long time. I know they dated for a year and a half, but she's young and it's so much harder to get out of a marriage than a serious relationship. Dating for only a year and a half is very, very short when getting to know someone enough to make them your life partner. I said similar in a thread that got removed at OP's request, and someone acted like I was being arbitrary when my comment was in regards to my ex-husband marrying too fast. He is still my friend, and we only dated for 6 months and got married. He dated his second wife for a year, and she was insecure and controlling even before the marriage. I explained to him he needs to address his trauma and insecurities first, and fix his attachment style, and finish his divorce before considering dating again. Posted by user ThrowRA Jeff the Creep, titled, "My girlfriend's close friend asked us to open up our relationship so he could pursue her. Now I'm not comfortable with her still being around him. All names are fake. So I've been with my girlfriend Emily for 4 years now. Emily has a close friend Jeff, who I've never liked. The guy has always come off as skeevy, whiny, and creepy to me. I've heard things about him from ex-friends, and even current ones that make him just come off as pathetic and creepy. I could go on about him, but I'll cut to the chase though. The real reason I do not like Jeff is that he has always been interested in Emily. They met in middle school, and he's had a crush on her since then. He's tried and failed multiple times over the years to get her to like him. Ever since I came into her life and we started dating, he's always given me the feeling that he's orbiting, waiting for us to break up and to try again. He's backed off romantically though, and hasn't tried anything for the 4 years we've been together. Jeff has been a sore topic for me and Emily. Even though I don't like him, she and her friends do. I've made it clear to her that I don't like him, but I've never interfered with her friendship with him because I've always trusted her when she tells me that she feels nothing romantically for him. This all changed last week. Jeff's own romantic life can only be described as unusual. From what I know, mostly one-night stands and third-wheel scenarios. He's openly poly, and I've heard far too much about it from him. Not the lifestyle for me, but whatever suits you. What got to me though was how he would talk about it to the people in monogamous relationships in his friend group. pitching it as if he was trying to sell them on it for other reasons. Last week, Emily and I tagged along with her friends for an outing. We ended up at a dive late at night for drinks, and Jeff tagged along with the two of us. He was incredibly off-putting to me the entire night, much more than usual, acting all buddy-buddy with me to an uncomfortable degree. As we sat and chatted, he brought up his most recent relationship from a few months back, a poly relationship where he was third-wheeling another couple. It was very awkward, much more so when out of nowhere he recommended we try something like that ourselves. The short of it is that he asked us to open up our relationship and become a triad with him. He knows I'm straight, so what he really meant was that he wants to screw Emily and for me to be okay with it. Emily declined, and I wanted to tear into the creep. However, Emily made me go to her car so she could pay for our drinks and leave knowing I was about to make a scene. Suffice to say, I am not comfortable with her continuing to associate with him. I've made it clear that what he did was completely disrespectful of our relationship and that I don't trust him not to do something more sinister at this point. Emily, however, disagrees. She's saying this is just how Jeff operates, which makes me even more uncomfortable with the situation. He is not neurotypical, and her whole friend group has used that as an excuse for so long. I'm sick of hearing it. We have been arguing non-stop about this now. She doesn't think this is enough of a reason to cut him off, and I cannot understand why. Her friend group has essentially decided to stay out of it as well. I did share my thoughts with someone I know who is an ex-friend of Jeff's from high school. I also learned that Jeff has tried to break up Emily and her boyfriend before, and he thinks this is another attempt. She was planning on going out Friday with her friends to a movie, which included Jeff. We ended up having another massive argument, in which I told her not to come back if she left. She's been staying at her parents' house since. Right now, I feel like I'm living in effing bizarro land. Every single weird thing about her and her friends now sticks out like porcupine quills. It's like I'm the only one who sees a problem with what Jeff did, and that my opinion does not matter. Emily refuses to tell me what about Jeff is so important and endearing that he is worth this. It's like to her, this is just normal or something. How do I even proceed at this point? It feels like I'm just being walked over. How can I convey how uncomfortable I am at this, or is it even worth it at this point? This situation just sounds like one big entire mess, something I wouldn't want to be a part of. I don't know why she continues to say that his behavior is acceptable when it's obviously not. He's so creepy, and he's not neurotypical, so why is she doing this? Does this woman get off on leading on neurodivergent men? And the friend group is cool with that too? They're all just in on it? I don't understand, OP. I would leave this relationship personally. In the comments, quote, I also learned Jeff has tried to break up with Emily and her boyfriends before. And Emily let that happen, and now she is letting it happen again. It is exactly what you described. Open it up so Jeff can screw her. If they all think this is normal, I would not want to be a part of any of it. OP replies, what's so bizarre here is I still believe her when she says she's not interested in him. Everyone, including people who hate Jeff, corroborates this. I don't know why she allows this behavior to go on and prioritize it over her own boyfriend. I could not care less, to be honest, if she is interested or not. He has been super disrespectful and effing weird, and yet she still does not see the problem after she lost multiple boyfriends over this. You will never win over him, and this will go on forever. OP replies, you're right. I actually do believe I won't win over him. You win by walking away from this nonsense and finding a partner that will respect and defend your relationship. Let them have each other, since she has clearly shown you and her past boyfriends that she will defend and choose her snake friend over you. I would have ended it then and there. Jeff doesn't respect the relationship, and Emily covering for him proves she doesn't respect the relationship either. OP replies, that's exactly what I felt like over the past few days, that she herself is showing no respect to us at all. It doesn't help that she's trying to make me think it's normal. I should just walk away. OP, I'm going to tell you this from a woman's perspective. This isn't normal. You don't deserve it. It's disrespectful, and don't let her gaslight you into thinking that this is something reasonable. Any man or woman that would disrespect my relationship in that way and ask to literally screw your girlfriend and intrude in your relationship with zero regard for you is a piece of crap. Your girlfriend then, even if she declined, Basically choosing to maintain this crap and make you think that it's not an issue to have him lurking still in the background, says she likes the attention and is keeping him around as a backup plan. I would never, ever let anyone disrespect my husband like that. Immediate grounds for breaking off a friendship, going no contact, and also telling them in a very non-polite way to F off. She's not doing that. She's telling you to get over it, basically. You deserve better than having to compete with another man. She's not putting your relationship first, and that should be reason enough for you to call it quits. What's the value that he brings to her life, besides disrespect and overstepping boundaries? I'd choose my significant other over anyone that would do this any day of the week because I love him so much that I'd never want him to feel uncomfortable, disregarded, or like he needs reassurance that he's my priority. Please, value yourself enough to leave because this girl can't be bothered to do that for you. And OP replies, "Thank you. I really needed to hear this. I really needed to see that Emily was just as toxic as the people that she hangs out with." And now, onto the update, titled, "My ex-girlfriend has been leading a neurodivergent man on for over a decade to scam money out of him, even while we were together. I wasted the last 4 years of my life with a girl we'll call Emily. I thought she was a good and honest person, but boy was I wrong. Emily had a close friend named Jeff. I never understood it. Jeff is a creepy and pathetic man who has orbited her since middle school. He's neurodivergent, at least that's what their friend group has used as an excuse for his actions. He's always had a crush on Emily. According to ex-friends, he's tried his hardest to get her to like him since they met. Emily does not like Jeff any more than a friend, and even then, the way she talks about him to me makes me feel completely disgusted by him physically. Along with her honesty, it made me never question their friendship, even if Jeff was obviously orbiting, waiting for us to break up. A few weeks ago, Jeff asked us to try out polyamory so he could have sex with Emily. I was furious. I wanted to put him in his place, but Emily stopped me. She seemed to have no problem with him asking, even though she turned him down. Her whole friend group acted like this was just a normal thing to ask. That me upset and mad that he would dare disrespect our relationship like that was wrong. It was a me problem. There were things that should have clued me into the fact that her friend group was a circus. I just ignored it, however. After the polyamory incident, I couldn't though. The things that ex-friends told me about Jeff and Emily made me ask questions and start digging. I ended up contacting one of Emily's exes and learned something very interesting. In high school, Jeff was giving Emily hundreds of dollars that he was stealing from his parents. Emily and I had been arguing constantly after Jeff asked the question. She had been staying with her parents for a time while things cooled off. Once she showed back up at our place this week, I decided to confront her and asked if Jeff was giving her money. She denied it at first, but I told her that if she does not tell me the truth, I will forward many of the texts she sent me commenting about Jeff's body and face to Jeff himself. Jeff has been giving money to Emily since they met. For the entire 4 years we were together, he was sending her sometimes hundreds of dollars each month. Her texts with him are flirty in nature. While not outright saying she's interested in him, she's heavily implied it, acting like it's just not the right time for her to be with him. She has reaffirmed to me that she is not interested in him. In fact, she's implied that she actually hates his guts. I asked if her friends are also taking money from Jeff, and she said she did not know. I packed my shit up yesterday and am staying with my brother until I find a new place. I blocked Emily, and I sent a text to Jeff simply showing him how Emily talked about him to me. I'm 99% sure Jeff is stealing from his parents still, as he lives with them. I found his parents' numbers and texted them letting them know what's happening. Moving on from 4 wasted years is going to be tough. In the comments, Lisa Fleur says, "Whoa, so she's essentially a completely different person than you thought? I don't think any of the commenters in your last post could have seen this coming." Really? I just picked this up from a TikTok stream and I saw it coming immediately. This kind of tolerates the simps for the free shit behavior is extremely common. It's just the Belle Delphine business model in its original form. A proper jaw dropper. So Emily was happy milking money out of this guy that he stole from his own mother? What a shitbag. And let's be honest, she just told OP that their relationship was worth less than a couple $100s per month. I know, right? This girl is cheap trash. That dude is more delusional than the grandma who was going to sue for grandmother rights. The grandma who called CPS on her son and daughter-in-law because she went crazy that they didn't bow to her every whim? Yep, I see that. No, the grandma who was upset her son and daughter-in-law couldn't read her mind and call her back while daughter-in-law was in the hospital, pick her up from her house so she could see the baby after delivery, or drop by her house on the way home from hospital. Or is that the same grandma? I lose track sometimes. Wow, that is some psychopath shit from his ex-girlfriend. I'd say he dodged a bullet, but given the length of their relationship and the stuff he went through with her, it also kind of feels like he was riddled with bullets. There is definitely a bright side though. At least he 1. Doesn't have kids with her, 2. Doesn't own a house with her, 3. Isn't married to and needs to get a divorce from her, and 4. Wasn't vulnerable enough to listen to explanations and give her another chance. And yeah, honestly, OP, congratulations to you for getting out of there. That sucks. That whole situation sucks ass. You are a good person. It just seems as though there was an entire swamp of terrible people that you were surrounded by there. Your mental health will thank you for getting out of there. Anyway, guys, I would love to know what you think of this down in the comments below. Let me know. Our next post is by user ChattyCathy87, titled, Bestie's Divorce Causing Issues in My Marriage. My 40 female, best friend 38 female, is going through a divorce with her husband 44 male. We'll call them Alice and Ken. My husband 37 male and I have been together for 10 years and have always been close with Ken and Alice. Alice and I have been friends since long before we met either of our partners. My husband and Ken have become good friends over the years and they hang out just the two of them semi-frequently. About a month ago, Ken told Alice he wanted a divorce. She told me for the last 6 months they've been having issues. According to her, the problem stemmed from Ken's issues with her job. 3 years ago, she accepted a promotion at her company. The company requires her to travel 3 to 4 months out of the year, and she works a lot, even when she isn't on assignment. She's always been insanely ambitious and successful. I think it's important to note that Ken works full-time as a tradesman. He works out of his shop, metalwork, on their property, and stays pretty busy. She makes more than he does, but I wouldn't call her the breadwinner. Alice has a daughter, 12 female, from a previous relationship. Bio dad isn't in the picture, and Ken has been her dad since she was 4. According to her, Ken has been asking her to either take a position that requires less hours and responsibility, or find a new job that doesn't require any travel. She's been telling him she will, but has been putting it off, thinking he'd drop it eventually. This has been going on for a while. She didn't tell me how long exactly. It all came to a head when she extended a business trip while on the trip and forgot about a family vacation they had planned for when she got back. She didn't consult him about extending her business trip before agreeing to it. She apologized and she promised to make it up to him and their daughter. She said she didn't have a choice when it came to extending the business trip. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. Ken was upset but didn't blow up. When she got home though, his stuff was packed and he'd moved most of his shop and tools into storage. He hadn't told her any of this and was acting like everything was fine till this point. She called me and was crushed. She kept saying, "I didn't think he'd do it," over and over. What was at first sadness on her end quickly became resentment and anger when Ken made it clear that there was no getting back together. Ken and my husband were in contact during this whole ordeal. Husband knew they were having issues, but didn't know the extent of it till after Ken left Alice. Ken told my husband that Alice had been checked out of the relationship ever since she took the new position. They don't do anything as a family anymore. Alice doesn't make time for them to talk when she travels. I guess he asked her for some nudes and sexy dirty talk a few times, and she rejected him, but had time to go out with co-workers. They don't have sex anymore. He had voiced these issues numerous times, and she blew him off, according to Ken. Everything became much worse after a particular incident that is hard to even type without cringing. Ken and Alice had been separated for about 3 weeks. Their daughter was bouncing back and forth between Ken's apartment and their old home that Alice was staying in. It was Ken's weekend with their daughter. He brings her back on Sunday evenings. Well, Alice went on a bender and literally forgot what day it was, she was so effed up. This is not like her. She thought it was Saturday, but it was Sunday. Ken shows up with their daughter and walks in on a shit show. Alice had 2 younger men there. They were drunk and in the hot tub. They weren't in the act, but it was clear what was going on. She started freaking out, calling Ken names, screaming that it wasn't Sunday yet. Ken kept their daughter in his truck so she didn't see the worst of it. They left, and the next day she had no idea what had happened. She had texted Ken horrible things while she was effed up. I only saw them because Ken sent my husband screenshots. I won't say word for word what they said, but it was really personal shit. Since this, Ken is going nuclear. He wants the house, he wants custody, he adopted their daughter long ago. He wants child support, he is taking her to the cleaners, as they say. I know this isn't Alice. She's going through shit. She needs friends right now, and I'm literally all she has. Her own daughter would rather stay with Ken. I am not going to cut my best friend out over this. The issue? My husband wants me to cut her out. He said some really terrible things about her. He's called her a shitty mother. I know she loves her daughter. He's called her self-absorbed effing bitch. He says he doesn't want me getting sucked into her drama and behavior. When I insist she'll turn it around and she just needs help right now, he shuts it down, saying this is who she really is, and he doesn't know why I want to associate with people like her. I know a lot of this is just shit that Ken has told him, and he's defending his buddy. I'm not excusing her behavior, but I think it's unreasonable for him to want me to cut my best friend out. She asked me to go out with her a few times, and I went once without telling my husband because I knew what he'd say. I just wanted to talk to her in person. After I told him that we met up, he went ballistic and repeated that if I don't cut her out, we'd have issues too. Any advice navigating this would be appreciated. Edit. I made this post on lunch break, on mobile now, but the responses are overwhelming and eye-opening. I've seen recurring sentiment that I haven't said anything positive about Alice. I reread my post and realized you're correct. So I'll just say this. She wasn't always this way, and her behavior, drinking excessively, shrugging off family, work-obsessed, is relatively new. She used to be a good mother. We used to have fun family outings. Her and Ken were happy. When she took the promotion, all of that changed gradually until this shit show happened. Maybe I'm blinded to her behavior now because I knew once upon a time that she wasn't this person. I plan on talking to her tonight and having an intervention, and I will let my husband know. Thank you for your responses, the good and the bad. My advice, OP, is dump her. It's very obvious through her actions and yes, through your words on the post, that she's not the person that you thought she was. She has in fact changed. She has changed for the worse. She has said so much vile stuff and done so many vile things. The two younger men in the hot tub. Gross. It sounds like there is an insane age difference there, and if it's interns, work balance difference? Higher seniority taking advantage of younger interns? Disgusting. My advice is to support her where you can, but at a distance, OP. In the comments, Frodo No says, this woman is your bestie, and you didn't say one good thing about her. Which to me kind of shows that either you know deep down she's not a good person, or you don't really know her as well as you think you do. You state a few times that she doesn't give you full details as well, which is odd since you're besties. She even claimed I didn't think he'd do it. What do you think that means? She knew he had told her that they'd get divorced if she didn't change. She literally tried to deflect until he forgot about it. It's very obvious she cares about her career more than her family. Honestly, that vacation would have been the end for me too. What a horrible feeling for both the husband and daughter to know that she'd rather work than spend time with her family. Your husband is right to be concerned. You tried defending her in your post, but again, there is nothing redeeming that you said. If you truly insist on helping your friend, then you need to make sure your husband feels comfortable and safe. Ken has been saying things to your husband, yes, but they're probably not that far from the truth, even if she's embellishing. Again, your own bestie doesn't tell you everything, so it's very possible she's been banging younger dudes in the hot tub more often than you would think. My advice, if you want to keep your friend and not upset your family, is to get a little distance until it blows over. Don't introduce negativity in your relationship just because you want to help someone through theirs. Your family comes first. I also wonder if OP has ever really seen this other side of her best friend's conflicts. I had an old roommate who had a falling out with another roommate of ours, and she only showed me the texts that the other person sent to her, which were really nasty. She framed herself as a pure victim. Over time, I saw conflicts between her and people I actually knew and realized, oh, she's the one getting nasty in every fight that she has, and other people are just responding in kind. She was eventually horrible to me too when I moved out. Some people are nice to you when they're getting their way, but ugly nightmares when they're not. And OP may be seeing this side of her friend for the first time because the other party is also a friend, so she can't spin things however she wants. I think you hit the nail on the head here, especially since OP even mentions her friend doesn't tell her the whole story. She's leaving things out that would cast her in a negative light, so is choosing to omit them rather than lie about it. It seems she doesn't know her as well as she thinks she does. I wouldn't want my partner to be friends with someone who is acting like your friend is. And Ken isn't taking her to the cleaners, he is doing what is best and safest for his daughter. She has known that she has no business raising a child in her current state. The whole time that you're sitting here defending this person who is being a complete piece of shit to her ex, your husband is probably worried that you don't see anything wrong with her behavior. I'm the opposite. I'd be concerned if my partner coldly dropped a longtime best friend while they were going through a crisis of personality. It makes sense that OP wants to help her friend get on a better path. They've shared decades of friendship, and OP can do so without endorsing Alice's behavior as right. You can't help or influence someone that you have no contact with. Presumably, Alice's current behavior is out of character for OP and her husband to have been friends with her for a decade or more. I don't know if Alice can redeem herself to everyone she's harmed, but I completely understand that OP wants to at least try. Edit: Alice is behaving like an addict, not just having a bad day. Perhaps OP will get fed up with Alice's self-destructive behavior and leave her also. But this sounds fresh for OP, and I don't blame her for trying to get through to Alice. And now, onto the update. It wouldn't let me post an update without mentioning the ages and relationships again, so the people involved are me and my husband, who are married for 10 years, my best friend Alice and her husband, who have been married for roughly 8 years. This is not a happy update. Alice and I made plans to get together on Saturday morning. I was going to get us coffee and help her with a few things around her house before she left for a business trip on Monday. My intention was to tell her that we, her family and mine, are worried about her, and that we all want to see her happy, but her behavior was worrying us. I was hoping we'd have a heart-to-heart. I was hoping I'd see my friend again. I was hoping she'd agree to see a therapist. I was hoping she would take a step in the right direction, but none of that happened. She was combative from the second I showed up at her place, almost like she knew what my intentions were before I even said anything. When I told her I was worried about her, she said she was fine and has just been blowing off steam and having some fun. She said she works hard and can do whatever she wants now that Ken left her. She talked about how ungrateful Ken was over the years for all of her hard work and everything she's paid for and done for him. It made me cringe, but I bit my tongue. For the record, Ken is a hard-working guy who didn't need her money. He was the breadwinner when they first got together. She makes quite a bit more than him now, but in no way was he dependent on her. Some of you pointed out it was likely that Alice was cheating on Ken. I asked her, and she got extremely defensive. She gave me the whole, "I can't believe you'd even ask that" attitude. I reminded her about the hot tub incident and the optics of it all. She blew it off and swore she had never cheated. I asked her who the guys were. Turns out they were interns at her company. When I asked her how old they were, she simply said, "They were legal." The way she said it made me wonder if that's how dirty old men talk about younger women. It was gross. Whether or not she was cheating before they broke up, I don't know. I don't really know anything about this woman anymore. Here's where things took an unexpected turn. As we chatted, she was packing for a business trip. I asked her where she was going this time, and she said Dallas. I didn't think anything of it. She's gone to Dallas for business dozens of times. What did strike me as odd was what she was packing. Long pants, sweatshirts, a beanie, jackets, hiking boots. It was all fall attire, and not what she'd be wearing in Dallas at this time of the year. I don't think I even saw her pack work clothes. But the weirdest thing, a random Seattle Mariners jersey. She doesn't follow baseball. She never has. I thought about saying something, but kept my questions to myself. It was all just odd. I felt like she was preoccupied with packing and her daughter coming over soon, so I decided to head out. We hugged. I told her I loved her and want her to be happy. I told her I hope she considers seeing a therapist when she gets back. She said, "I'll think about it." Things did seem to end on a positive note. When I got home, hubby and I were talking about how things went, and I told him about the clothes that she was packing and the random Seattle Mariners jersey. He thought that it was odd too, but other than it just being odd, we didn't think anything of it at the time. But then hubby went full internet detective, and guess who lives in Seattle and has a Facebook profile picture of himself at a Mariners game? Her daughter's biological father. My heart sank. When I checked the Mariners' schedule, they do have home games next week. I called her immediately and asked her if she was really going to Dallas. She responded, "Yeah, why?" I asked if she was sure she wasn't going to see X's name in Seattle. She got quiet. There was probably a full minute of silence. I told her she better not lie to me and that I would find out. She came clean. She said she had gotten in contact with him right after Ken left her, and they'd been talking more and more. She said he was a different man now and has turned his life around and blah blah blah. I didn't talk about her baby daddy in the last post because it wasn't relevant, but just know this man is a piece of shit human being. He cheated on her while she was pregnant and kicked her out when she confronted him. He'd slap her around, call her terrible names. This effing guy said he'd wanted nothing to do with their child also. I flew to Seattle, picked her up, and brought her home. She lived with me for a little bit. She met Ken shortly after having her daughter, and within a year of dating, they moved in together. I told her that of all the shit she's pulled recently, this was by far the worst thing she could do. I told her I was disappointed in her. I couldn't believe she would ever speak to that man after what he did to her and how he treated her. She kept saying that it was years ago and she's changed, and he wants to meet his daughter one day. I started screaming and yelling into the phone so loud, I think I blew out my voice. I told her I was done with her. I told her if she gets on that plane to Seattle, to not bother contacting me ever again. I hung up on her. She called me back and texted once, but I ignored it. I didn't have the energy for her anymore. I just sat on the couch crying all night while my husband held me. He didn't rub it in. He didn't give me attitude. He just let me cry and told me that he was sorry. Alice texted me this morning. She said she's sorry for lying to me, but she's a big girl now, and she can look after herself. I asked her if she was still going to Seattle, and she said yes, and I blocked her. It's over. I told Ken everything. He was upset but not surprised. He said he knew how close Alice and I were, and he was sorry that I'd lost my friend. I told him I was sorry that he'd lost his wife. You guys were right. I feel like an effing idiot. Maybe it's a little selfish of me, but I feel betrayed. In the comments, imagine going back to your deadbeat baby daddy. Like if you're gonna make poor choices, at least make new poor choices. If only for the novelty. People are wired funny. I know women and men who have extracted themselves from super abusive, toxic relationships, gotten together with people who loved and supported them, and then either have gone back to their original abusive partner or found someone of the same archetype. I've had women I know tell me, I need someone that puts me in my place. I know men that have told me that their safe, healthy relationship was boring. We are weird animals addicted to chemicals that our brains produce. Recovering from abuse can be difficult, and that's the reason I always recommend therapy if possible. Unaddressed issues can take years to re-emerge, as they did here. Her radical decline suggests to me that she is likely a functioning alcoholic, quickly devolving into being a non-functional one, or there is also drug use involved as well. I do hope she only gets supervised visitation, because I honestly would not feel safe leaving a child with her for any period of time. Whenever a cheater is caught, the first thing they want to know is how much you know, so they can tailor the lies. It's always about admitting to the absolute bare minimum they can confess that'll cover what you know. It was only one time. I can't believe I got pregnant from just one night. She's been cheating for a long time, and with people from her work as well as her ex. I doubt her extended business trip was anything but screwing the interns. And the trickle-truthing is so cowardly. Just be an adult and own up to what you've done. I understand why they do it, but it still makes me angry. I feel so bad for OP. I've had to cut people off after decades of friendship, and it's heartbreaking. Same for Ken. Sounds like he's a stand-up dude, but the worst is the poor daughter. I can't imagine being 12 and finding out that your mum would rather boink interns that are probably closer to your age than hers than hang out with her own child. Alice is a real piece of work. Alice is a sexual harassment lawsuit waiting to happen. The unbalanced power dynamics of a supervisor hosting young interns in their hot tub are staggering. Any HR professional worth their salt would be flipping the F out to fire Alice before those two guys wake up and realize how toxic and predatory she is and sue the company. Everything about this is just so sad. Giving up her daughter and Ken, who sounds like a gem of a man, throwing away a close friendship, threatening the security of her own career. Alice has gone insane to the point where she needs a medical evaluation, not just a mental one. That drastic of a 180 makes me wonder if there's something medical that's causing it. But if it's all just her, then good effing riddance. And I hope Ken gets full custody of their daughter. Posted by user PsychologicalMind407, titled, "Am I the asshole for returning a birthday gift I got for my boyfriend after he insulted me about my colorful past?" This happened last night, but my phone is still blowing up. I, female 26, dipped into my savings and got Mike, my boyfriend, 27, a PS5 for his birthday yesterday. He knew he was getting a PS5 because he told me that the PS5 is the only thing that he wants. We've been together for 4 years, so the cost didn't matter. That is, until I found out what he thinks about me. For some background, when I was 18, I was involved with Jake, a guy who I met online. We ended things after 3 months, and I moved on shortly after with Adam, a guy from work. I found out a couple of months later that Jake and Adam were actually really close friends, but I didn't know Jake long enough to meet his friend group, so I had no idea. After finding out, I took some time off dating, and 2 years later, I met my current boyfriend, Mike. I was upfront and honest with Mike about my past, and the fact that I was unintentionally involved with friends. He said he understood, and that my past didn't bother him. Last night at his party, I showed up with a PS5 and him and his friends were screaming with joy. His best female friend, Jessica, laughed and said, "Ha ha, I wish I was a thought so I could afford a PS5 too." I looked at her with an "excuse me" look on my face, and she just said, "Never mind," and walked away. I confronted my boyfriend about it, and he said, I quote, "She's just messing with you. You can't take a joke?" So I pushed further as to why this girl is even calling me names to begin with, and he said, "Well, everyone knows you were a thought before you met me." I asked him to explain how I was a thought before him, and he said, messing with best friends. He then pat me on the shoulder and said that it's okay because I'm not who I was back then, and if he could get over my colorful past and thought mentalities to give me a chance, then I could get over Jessica's comment and give her another chance too. I didn't say anything. I just got up, took the PS5 from the gift table, and left. He was pissed. He literally called me like 20 times, but I didn't care. I was so hurt that I took the bow off and took it straight back to the store that I got it from, and they happily refunded it. I thought that was done, but Mike and all of his friends, including Jessica, are berating me for being petty, and they're all saying that I brought this on myself by making poor choices. I responded to Mike and I told him that he deserves better than me, so find someone who wasn't a thought and get the PS5 from them because I returned it. He started screaming how I'm the biggest asshole for returning it and how I should be happy that he ignored my colorful past. I think maybe taking it back went too far. Am I the asshole? No? Oh my god, what is this guy's problem and all the friends' problems? They're just propagating this. No one deserves to be willingly disrespected and supported in their disrespect by an entire congregation of assholes. That's how I view this situation. They're all congregating together to attack you. You don't deserve that, and they are all soulless people who deserve hell. Send them to asshole hell, put them in the asshole basket, and ship them off. There is nothing that you've done in this instance that tells me that you're an asshole OP, so I'm giving you the judgment of not the asshole. In the comments, Sweet Potato Famished says, "I'm so confused, but maybe that's because I'm an old lady who got married around the time that you were in kindergarten. A, if anyone was wrong in the Jake and Adam incident, then it was Adam. You might have dated friends, but he dated his best friend's ex. That's on them to figure out, and Adam's mistake only. 2. Where I come from, dating 3 dudes in 7 years does not a colourful past make. Did hoe get a new definition since the early noughties? Not the asshole. And I hope you do something special for yourself with a little bit of that money that you got back from returning that gift that you got your ex-boyfriend. Pangolin Tart says, this 1,000 times over. Colourful past? He doesn't even know what that term means. Not the asshole. Absolutely. And the fact that he and Jessica have this running joke that OP used to be a thought says so much about the two of them. She probably gave him that thought mentalities phrase that he was so quick to use. They clearly have discussed it, probably for as long as they've been together. The audacity of Jessica to say that to her face also speaks so much about his friendship with her. Whether he's actually cheating with Jessica is a moot point. He may as well be. Not the asshole. Give him the keys to the curb. Also, dollars to dildos, he's cheating with Jessica. Or she's a jealous female friend who wishes she was with him. But it seems like they're close enough that they name-call his girlfriend behind her back, so you're probably right. If they haven't, Jessica wants to at the very least. Not the asshole. Nothing about your past is even colourful. Oh my god, you dated 2 guys that happen to be friends. Good heavens, where are my pearls? I must clutch them. Sounds like Jessica is either sleeping with this fool or wants to be. She can have him. Use the money to get yourself something nice. Yup, jealous pick-me for sure. Who even says something like that to a friend's partner? Leave this guy. This is a precursor to much bigger issues. He thinks he is doing you a favor, will constantly hold that over your head and make you feel less than. I think I'm using pick-me appropriately here. It's a new term to me, but I like it. OP, not the asshole. And now, onto the update. Firstly, thank you for all the support. I really appreciate it, and I'm trying my best to respond to each of you. Turns out, you guys were right, but we'll get into that. Firstly, I unblocked Mike this morning and called him to talk. After a few hours of arguing, I finally got the truth out of him. He said that after I told him about my past, he was fine with it because it happened before him. Then he got curious about who Jake and Adam were. So he went digging on my Facebook friends list and didn't find Jake, but he found Adam. He then condemned me for having an ex on my social media page. I said I don't speak to the majority of people on my Facebook, but I wouldn't delete them, I just won't engage. He said that in his eyes, that was a red flag, so he went digging, and he found what he was looking for. He saw that Adam was well known and well liked by a lot of women because of all the women liking and commenting on his posts, and by the cars and trips that he posted prior. He knew that Adam had to be well off. He also admitted to knowing some of the women who were in Adam's comments. He then tried digging into Adam's friend list, but it was hidden, so he asked Jessica to stalk his likes, comments, and posts for a Jake. Sure enough, they found Jake. Saw that Jake drove an expensive car, and came to the conclusion that I only date men with money. Note, Mike doesn't have money, so his entire analysis was dumb. Anyway, I asked him why he didn't just come to me, and he confessed that for a while, he thought I was interested in Jake and Adam for money because that's what women do. He then said that him and Jessica brought this situation up to his guy friends, and they all agreed that this is how the situation went. I was dating Jake, he introduced me to Adam, I found out Adam had more money than Jake, I left Jake to sleep with Adam, and then started dating him. I questioned why I would leave Adam if I was with him for money, and he said that he thought that was a lie, and Adam had to be the one to leave me. Ouch. He then said that he contemplated breaking up with me over this for months, but as he got to know me, he slowly realized that I'm not that kind of person. I told him that he's basically full of shit for dirtying my name with his friends. I then asked him why he didn't clear up my name. He said whenever he brought me up, they all dismissed me as a gold digger, thought, a woman who slept with men for money, and here's the kicker, probably still have some of that money saved. They came to the conclusion that I must be with Mike for some ulterior motive, but he was too embarrassed to defend me. He also said that he was embarrassed every time I mentioned a male friend or tagged any guy on social media because they all teased him afterwards. I remember him asking me not to like any other man's photos on social media and to not tag any guys, but I just thought it's because it made him uncomfortable, not because his friends were silently stalking me. After hearing all of this, I decided to end things with Mike. I told him that he's not a nice person and I can't trust him anymore, especially because he knew I was saving for months to afford the PS5, and he allowed his friends to think that I got my money from elsewhere. After ending it, I said, "Oh, by the way, have you ever slept with Jessica?" He said no, but after she found Jake, she suggested they hook up if he ever needs to get back at me in the future. I asked what she meant by getting back at me, and he said that she was certain I would cheat on him with a wealthier man if I found one. He then said that he gave me the truth after all these years, so I should forgive him and give him another chance, but I didn't. I just thanked him for the good times, the memories, and for dirtying my name, then I hung up and blocked him again. Now I think I'll take another long break from the dating world. Thanks again, everyone. In the comments, I love that the OP took the PS5 and walked off in silence. I like to think that she did so with a stone-cold, emotionless face too. Jessica is a piece of crap, but she did OP a favor. Imagine buying someone a gift like that when they're trashing you on the regular behind your back. Good for OP for taking it back and not taking any shit. She spent a lot of time planning and saving money to get him this gift. I think OP is a badass, walking out with a gift and directly returning it, and then she didn't fall prey to the sunk cost fallacy, which most people would after 4 years together. She saw him for what he is, and ended the relationship like a boss. Would that all people in bad relationships were capable of seeing someone for who they are, and understand more time won't make it better, it's just delaying the inevitable. I don't mean to sound condescending, but I am so proud of OP. I hope she finds a man worthy of her someday. Some people just can't help but torpedo a good thing. It's actually very easy not to let your friend talk shit about your partner. Never had an issue with it. Yes, I did in fact let my friends make fun of you behind your back for years, but now I'm telling you, so can I have the video game console back? This is just the most uncolourful past I've ever heard of. My god. There is zero here that's even remotely colorful. Jesus, pray for the rest of us. Yeah, maybe it's coming from a small town, but I took it as read that anyone I dated would have dated people I knew. Like no shit they would have. Everyone within 5 or 6 years of each other's ages knows everyone there. If we marked partners as off limits because they were our exes, we'd have 10 to 15 years of fun, then no one would date anyone ever. We'd all end up in mutual check. My reaction to my partner telling me this story would probably be, hahaha, oops. And honestly, good riddance to bad trash. OP, you deserve so much better, and you are worth so much more, and I hope that you get everything good come your way after this. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think of this one down in the comments. Please let me know. Our next post is by user Throwaway Mean Boss, titled, "A guy that I met at a work event out of town won't stop bothering me." Hello, I created a throwaway account so that I can share it anonymously. Around 10 months ago, I, 25 female, went on my first work-related trip to a different city. There I met Jerry, 43 male. I know there is a huge age gap, but I know myself. I'm generally into older guys. I met him at the hotel lobby that I was staying in. He asked me out on a coffee, and I said yes. He was really charismatic. I was blushing the entire time. We spent a good weekend together, no sex by the way. We did kiss multiple times. He gave me his number, and he didn't want to add me on social media because he said he doesn't use it. He did give me an Instagram ID to contact. This really made me a bit suspicious. I had this gut feeling that something about him was not right, so I decided to search and do some background work. I tried to search for him on Facebook and other social media, but I hit a wall. I remember that he gave me a business card. It was a card from his company. I also asked for a friend's help to find something on him. I don't know, I was just adamant on finding some dirt on him. Eventually we did find some interesting facts. That jerk is married with 2 kids. I saw his kids. One is about 16 to 17, another one is around 10 to 11. I wanted to throw up. I know my own sister tried to kill herself because her boyfriend cheated on her. I know the pain even if it is second-handed. I cut off all contact with him. I blocked his number. A few weeks after I totally ghosted him, I saw him at the parking lot of my office. He knew where I worked. Again, my fault, because I told him where I worked. He asked me why I didn't return his calls, and I blocked him on everything. I screamed at him and called him a liar. I told him I knew he was married, I knew he had kids. In fact, his oldest son is closer to my brother's age. This is really disgusting. He broke down crying and begged me not to leave him. He kept ranting about how unhappy he is in his marriage. He just wanted someone to love him, and when he saw me, he fell in love with me, and he wants to be with me. I told him this is not possible. He is married, and I cannot do this to another woman. Even if I don't know her, I have decency not to ruin someone's marriage and forever be known as a homewrecker. He kept begging. I had to threaten him that I would shout so that people can throw him out. His calling and stalking did not stop. I asked a friend and co-worker of mine to escort me to my car because I was so afraid that Jerry would come towards me. He sent me message after message saying he was sorry, that he can be a better man if I am with him. I had to deactivate my social media for a while. For like 5 months, it was calm and quiet, I had no issue, and then again I get a message in my email from Jerry saying that he has divorced his wife for my sake, and since he is not with his wife now, he and I can be together. I was really creeped out by this. I told him over and over again I do not want him. His harassment didn't stop. He threatened to ruin my career. He blamed me for ruining his marriage because I made a move on him. It's not true. He was the one who approached me first. I was just a little friendly with him. If I knew he was married back then, I would never ever have reciprocated his flirting. I feel lost. I keep blaming myself that maybe all of this wouldn't happen if I had not been friendly with him. I also don't want him to ruin my career, but I am scared for my life. Edit, I think I should mention that I'm not from the USA. The police in my area are corrupt. Jerry is in a very high position in his company. He can easily ruin my career. I'm collecting evidence because of his harassment. I have nothing much to say besides Jesus Christ, this is a scary situation to be involved in. Much more so that it appears he has way more tools at his disposal to ruin your life than you would his. I don't know what to say other than I'm sorry this is happening to you, OP, and I hope that, these comments help you get through this. In the comments, Soy Herder says, are you in a position to hire a private investigator? If that's a thing where you are, of course. My reason for asking this is, a dude who's done this once has done it before. There is no way that he has nothing in his closet that he doesn't want coming out, and while you don't want to necessarily goad him into escalation, being alone to prove to a court, legal court or court of opinion, that this is a slimeball may help. As well, it may help to find out who he respects as an authority who might be able to make him back down. OP replies, I will look into that. I'm thinking about filing a restraining order against him. Divorce proceedings can't be that fast. It's not your fault. Is there a way that you can move away? OP replies, actually, I don't know if he is just divorced or just separated. He told me he left his wife for me as if it will impress me, and I thought about moving, but it's scary because right here I have my family and friends. If I move to a new place, he might come there as well, and I would have no support. I highly doubt his wife has any clue about you. They're probably still together, and he probably does this to other women too. Make sure you document and go to the police. Does your family know? Your friends? OP replies, my dad knows. He is helping me with this. He hasn't told anyone for my safety. Good. If he tries to ruin your job, you'll be able to provide documentation that might ruin his. Catherine of Arrogance says, he lied to his wife so he could have his cake and eat it too. Why would you think he's not lying to you about divorcing his wife? She deserves to know all the details, regardless. You wouldn't be ruining his marriage either, by the way. He is. And now, on to the update. My stalker's wife wants to contact me. Should I go? Hi. A couple of weeks ago, I posted here asking for help. A guy I met on a work trip lied about being single. He has a wife and kids too. He has been stalking me, and he told me that he left his family for me so I should be with him because he made a big sacrifice for me. I've decided to file a restraining order, but these things take time in my country. But I have my dad and uncle with me. They are helping me to find a new place and probably a new job. As soon as I can serve him with restraining orders, I can be relieved. But I am afraid if it will work or not because he seems mad. His messages have been reduced because I threatened to call his wife. But the problem is, yesterday, his wife emailed me and said that she wants to meet me. She said in details that she knows that her husband has some connection with me. I have never met this woman in my life. I don't know why she wants to meet me. I'm guessing she wants to talk, but then again, he told me he left his wife. Then how did his wife know my information or even my email? If I meet her, my stalker could know that I talked to his wife. I'm really scared about my life. What should I do? The part of me thinks that she might help me with my case. Has anyone ever been in my position? In the comments, I think this guy is pretending to be the wife. Block her. If you do go through with it, insist on meeting at a police station. That will reveal the lie if it's actually him, because he'll try to argue out of it. But I'd still recommend not going. Edit. Down thread, someone suggested a Zoom call with a burner email, which is a much better idea. But I would still block and ignore this message. I would not meet in person without a lot of preventative work in advance. Your stalker can observe you arriving at the police station, your vehicle, your route after leaving. All of that can be tracked in person or with something like an AirTag. Seeing you in person can also be a trigger. Better reason for meeting at the police station, depending on your country, is that if it's him, you can file a complaint and report right then and there. You are trying to get a restraining order. Get a copy of the email and take it to the police as part of the evidence. Whatever you do, do not reply or engage. There's a high chance that it's him, and even if it's the wife, who cares? You have to protect yourself first. If you want to make contact with the wife, do it via lawyer. Never direct communication. Nope. Do not meet her. It may be a trap, either her or your stalker using her with ill intent. Anything she needs to be said can be said via email, where you can block if needed and have evidence of what's said. Partners can be victims or they can be accomplices. Trust your instincts. They are screaming at you to stay away from this situation. I am really scared about my life. Your body already knows what your mind hasn't figured out yet. This is dangerous. Stay away. Stalkers thrive on contact, any kind of contact. He's trying to make contact with you. Part of you already knows this. Listen to that part. Do not have your family members meet her for you. They won't see her, but they will be followed back to you. And now, on to the final update. So, I took your advice and didn't go to see her. We had a couple of email exchanges instead. I told her clearly, under no circumstances, I want to meet someone who I cannot trust. Whatever she has to say, she can say it in my email. She understood. I thought she would be opposed to this idea. She told me that she has been having doubts about her husband for a long time, so she hired someone to keep an eye on him. There she found out he has been having an affair with multiple women. The first time he did this, she forgave him, but this time he is only stuck on me. She said that she found some pictures of me on his laptop. She shared a file which contained some pictures of me coming out of my office, me going to the gym, me going out to eat. I was shaking. I was in a very emotionally vulnerable state after seeing that I cannot be safe in my own life. I feel like I'm being watched even now as I'm typing this. Imagine being a prisoner in your own house. I ended up telling the wife to have a Zoom meet for 5 minutes. I used a disposable account, and just for extra safety, I had the Zoom call in a public space along with a friend. I don't trust anyone at this point. I gave her some conditions that I will not be showing my face. If she wants to show me her face, then that's fine. It is up to her. I saw her for the first time. She looked like the woman that I saw in Jerry's picture with his wife and kids. She was basically crying and telling me that she had made a huge mistake. She should have left that time, and now he is bringing shame to her as well. I didn't say much, just the story of how me and Jerry met. Also, Jerry lied. He did not leave his wife. He was not separated from her, but I'm sure he will be now. I feel so exposed. I can't believe this is happening to me. I always saw this happen in movies. I am moving in with my cousin because I do not feel safe anymore. I wish I never met him. I feel disgusted that I kissed him and I hugged him. I don't think any amount of showering is enough to wash away all of that. Also, I feel guilty that I broke a family too. Thanks for listening to my vent. I don't think I'll update anymore until I get the restraining order. In the comments, But I Digress says, I remember your original post. I'm glad you're taking steps to stay safe. OP replies, to be honest, I do not feel safe at all. This guy has been stalking me for God knows how long. I cannot even go to my office without any escorts. In a perfect world, I would have him locked up for life. Why isn't he locked up for life? Well, because it's not illegal to be a massive asshole, unfortunately. My mother-in-law has the same issue with her old insane lover. Dude's been sending her creepy messages, photos, etc. for over 10 years. She's been to the police a dozen times, Basically, whenever he does something even skeevier than usually, they are sympathetic, but they always give the same answer. He's not doing anything legally wrong. This is just horrifying. Poor OP. It is so unjust that she has to be the one to upend her life and live like a prisoner because of some unhinged man. I hope she gets her restraining order and that Jerry gets put away or sees something shiny before it escalates, because it will. OP essentially went out on 2 dates with the dude, kissed him, and never talked to him again, which was enough for him to begin a 10-month stalking campaign. This dude is dangerous. I hope OP finds a way to be free of this lunatic. His wife needs to run too. This infuriates me. Imagine how many crimes would never happen if the authorities took stalkers and harassers seriously. Posted by user Blackpug Studios, titled, "Am I the asshole for not wanting to make dinner every night? I, 40 female, had jaw surgery in November and have had my jaw wired shut ever since. I'm mostly surviving on Ensure, blenderized soups, smoothies, and baby food. It's been tough. During this time, I have continued to make my child's breakfast every morning, make his lunch for school, do the grocery shopping, and make dinner most nights. Honestly, it's torture. My husband, 40, works full-time and doesn't really feel like cooking when he gets home. I get it, but at the same time, making dinner every night and having to watch and smell it cook when I know I can't eat it is awful. And I know there are lots of ways to blend proper meals, but by the time I add enough broth, juice, etc. to make it drinkable, it's disgusting. The other night, I asked if he could make dinner at least a few nights a week, and he got pretty offended. He said that since I'm not working, as I'm on medical leave, it's nice to come home to dinner being ready and not having to rush to start it. Last night, I thought I could compromise and get all of the ingredients prepared and ready so he could just do the actual cooking, and he was pretty ticked off all night. Am I being unreasonable? Am I the asshole for not wanting to cook every night? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might be the asshole because I asked my husband to cook dinner more often, and when he refused, I left him cut up ingredients and wouldn't make dinner. I think you offered a fair compromise in this situation. As we all know, relationships are about compromise, and that is how we make them work. I can see where he's coming from in that you're on medical leave, you have a lot more time, but you're also recovering and healing from a traumatic accident, and the burden of cooking every day while being tortured by that would be too much for so many people. He refuses to see this from your point of view, and when you tried to give him the easiest way to ease into him taking on some of your load, he chucks a tanty. He's not being reasonable here, he is being a baby about this and is not seeing reason. I think you've honestly tried your best in this situation, you've tried to meet him more than halfway and he still refuses. I don't think you're an asshole for trying new tactics, so I'm gonna say for this, not the asshole. In the comments, Queen of the Snarkness says, I took a look at OP's post history. According to it, she's been having jaw trouble for years, and her jaw is going to be wired shut for months, which means she's going to be on a liquid diet, and I'm assuming in constant pain for months. Instead of supporting her and making things easier on her, her husband is expecting too much from her and acting like she's on vacation, not medical leave. If he continues to demand you be his unpaid professional chef, tell him you're only cooking what you can eat and see how long he lasts on a liquid diet, not the asshole. Complex Pirate replies, this is the way. Don't prepare food you can't eat. If they don't like it, they can make something themselves. This is exactly what my mother would have done. She may not have been the greatest mum in the world, but she never put up with one iota of bullshit from my dad. They are still happily married to this day, just have a lot better idea of where the boundaries are. I have 18-month-old twin daughters, and I hope one day they say something like this about me. I would love to show them by example what a healthy co-parenting, co-household, team approach to a family looks like. OP's post breaks my heart. This type of behavior and expectations are generational. Her children see him talking to her and treating her like this, and will expect that this is what a woman's role in the family is, and that is heartbreaking to me. OP is not the asshole, which I think is pretty obvious to anyone who isn't her asshole husband. My dad criticized how my mum did laundry in the beginning of their marriage. As a result, he's been doing his own laundry for 40 years now. It's an infamous story in my family now, and mostly something that was said as a warning to the rest of us. Sometimes you've got to take a stance. My dad is hopeless at cooking though, but at least he tried after my mum's car accident. I ended up learning how to cook anyway as a defense mechanism. The raw chicken was the last straw, but there were at least attempts. And he knows how to make sandwiches if my mum is really feeling bad. Dora the Urban Explorer says, "Not the arsehole. You're on medical leave, which means you were sick enough you cannot work. You should be resting, especially when there is an able-bodied adult around that can help out. Medical leave does not equal stay-at-home wife. Obviously help out as much as you can, but this is a fair ask. Most people don't get to come home to a home-cooked meal. That's a huge privilege. He can help you. If you're up to making a meal or two a week, that's awesome." OP replies, "Other than not being able to eat or talk well, I feel pretty good now. The first month was awful, but now I'm doing stuff around the house daily. The house is always clean, laundry done and put away, dogs walked. I even managed a few small projects around the house. It is specifically dinner that is the issue. I'm tired of making and smelling meals that I can't enjoy." So, are you cooking for everyone else and not you? Time for some malicious compliance. Get a load of ready-made meals and just stick them on for dinner. If he wants food made from scratch, he can do it. And OP replies, "I cook for everyone and then sit down with a glass of Ensure and blenderized soup. Love the ready-made meals. Seems like an easy compromise." And now, onto the update. I posted maybe 2 months ago about difficulties with not wanting to make dinner every night while my jaw was wired shut for an extended period after surgery. Original post linked above. I think the most heartwarming and unexpected of all were the soup and recipe suggestions that were shared, which was super helpful. I decided to go for a mix of petty revenge and adult behavior and made us all a dinner of soup and homemade bread the night that I made the post. My husband and son loved it, and we were all happy to be sitting down to a meal together as a family. But then I made soup and biscuits with salad the next night. Once we were cleaning up, I again brought up my frustration and talked about how difficult it has been for me, and asked again if we could compromise going forward. I used many of your suggestions about batch cooking, meal prep, etc., and asked if there were days that he feels more stressed coming home. There was a lovely user who asked if this behavior seemed out of character for him, and it is. And turns out, she was pretty spot on. There has been some things happening at work that have been pretty stressful, and he hasn't wanted to talk about it, so coming home and making dinner has just been one more thing to deal with. We were able to come up with a system that worked great, where he handles cooking on the weekends and also one day through the week, but we work together one day to make freezer meals, so I just throw them in the oven so they're ready to go when he gets home on days where I don't feel like I can handle the smells. Thankfully, I had my second surgery earlier than planned, and while I'm still dealing with side effects, I'll be eating normal food with my family soon. I'm on my third prosthetic and dealing with lingering post-op infections, wishing I could go back and tell myself to live with the pain. Surgery is not worth it. My jaw is still kind of a mess, hoping that one day that will no longer be the case. The problem that I have is fairly complex, and while I was hoping for an easy fix, it turns out that's not what's going to happen. In the comments, Timidino says, "Oof, jaw surgery seems extremely painful. I'm happy that they figured out how to cover the meals together. I've had jaw surgery where my jaw also was wired shut afterwards, though thankfully not as long as this. It was horrible. Your face and neck are all swollen. Everything you can eat is extremely boring, or just disgusting really, and it hurts like hell. I really feel for OP. Cooking every day is exhausting under normal circumstances, but to be going through pain and infections and surgery and not even being able to eat the tasty creations you've made? I cannot imagine. Glad they worked it out. I had to have surgery when I was 12, and the morning of, my parents made my favorite breakfast for themselves, which I couldn't eat. Just smelling it felt like torture. I can't imagine how it must have been for OP. Her situation is so much worse. Silverhawk says, "Medical leave is not a vacation. What the hell? If you're on medical leave, it's usually because you're not capable of working for one reason or another. If someone's on medical leave, they probably have their hands full with managing their own health situation and should focus on getting better. I absolutely agree with this. Medical leave requires rest. The update at the end made me furious. I don't understand why it was acceptable that the husband was dealing with work issues, and instead of communicating with her about it, he just got upset and expected her to make dinner. Lots of comments are saying that this worked out well for everyone in the end, but honestly, it sounds like the husband is a dud. I don't care what his excuse is, wife is on medical leave. You should be taking care of her, or at the very least, let her rest. 100% agree. I don't give an F if the hubs was stressed, just adult up and make the damn dinner. My husband just beat cancer. I was a housewife, but when he got diagnosed, I got a job for the first time in 17 years. I would come home and take care of him, then stay up late to clean while he was sleeping, since he's not allowed around chemicals. I would hope that he would divorce me if I acted like OP's husband. I've never understood, even in marriage, the concept of one person expected to exclusively serve food to the other. What kind of person can't feed themselves, but is still considered a functional adult? I suspect there are a lot of people who mask as functional adults that really struggle. Unless I tell you about it, you've probably never guessed that I'm considered disabled from my ADHD and OCD. I am in graduate school, and I hold down a job, but I also struggle to dress and feed myself daily. And yeah, closing thoughts, I kind of agree with that. I see a lot of people that are seemingly functional adults, but damn, life behind those closed doors is just something else, isn't it? This doesn't seem like a particularly happy ending in my point of view. It seems like it was a compromise of sorts, which is a very good start. I'm glad they communicated and came together on this. The marriage isn't breaking down, they are seemingly happy together, and I am happy for them. What do you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments down below.